Douluo, my Sharingan isn't very proper. Hey. Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction. So don't try any techniques you hear here in real life, your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 501 Fire Dance, Too Competitive. Seeing the growing fervor in the eyes of the elites before him, Emperor Zhuai smiled slightly. Suddenly, his smile froze, and his gaze slowly became vacant. Zhu King, noticing this, gently nudged him. Emperor Zhuai snapped back to reality, his smile stiff, a mixture of laughter and tears. Seeing the astonishment in everyone's eyes, Emperor Zhuai composed himself for a moment, suppressing his grief. He announced loudly, "Gentlemen, the advancement competition will be held in a month. I hope you can make further breakthroughs within this month. Alright, I won't say anything more. You children are all very intelligent, I think you will make a wise choice." Having said this, Emperor Zhuai's gaze shifted, sweeping across the face of Platinum Bishop Salus before turning away, accompanied by a group of high-ranking imperial officials. Salus's eyes flickered slightly, but his expression had completely calmed. It was difficult to discern anything from his face. Just as Emperor Zhuai had said, although he hadn't explicitly stated it, the captains and vice-captains of each academy's battle team understood his meaning. The Empire or the Spirit Hall, a choice between the two. Yi Chu's expression was solemn. Emperor Zhuai's health seemed far worse than he had imagined. Du Yuan had no interest in this so-called imperial title. With her status as the granddaughter of a titled Douluo, she already possessed the strongest background on the continent. She took Yi Chu's arm, pulling it close. "Husband, let's go." Yi Chu nodded slightly, leading Du Yuan towards the exit of the Great Spirit Arena. The others were waiting for them outside. Just then, a sudden voice called out to Yi Chu. "Yi Chu?" Yi Chu turned his head and saw a large expanse of red before him. It was Ho Wu who had called him. "Ho Wu, is there something you need?" Yi Chu asked. Ho Wu walked a few steps to him, stopping when she was less than a meter away. It has to be said that standing face to face with Ho Wu was quite intimidating, because her height was exceptionally tall for a girl, not much shorter than Yi Chu's. Yi Chu's physical development was already far superior to his peers, and he was already over 1.8 meters tall. Ho Wu was also 1.8 meters tall. Ho Wu stared at Yi Chu, who possessed outstanding looks and an air of nobility. Her face flushed, whether from anger or embarrassment, it was hard to tell. Yi Chu raised an eyebrow. "If you're going to say thank you, then forget it. Even without your words, I would have taken care of things myself." Ho Wu, about to speak, froze, her face turning bright red. What nonsense are you talking about? Don't flatter yourself. I didn't come here to thank you." She had indeed intended to thank Yi Chu first, but he had said it first. His nonchalant attitude made Ho Wu very unhappy. "If you're not here to thank me, then what are you doing here? Throwing yourself into my arms? There's a cue for that." Du Yuan, who could even gain the upper hand in a verbal battle with the little witch, was definitely not someone to be trifled with. She easily broke down Ho Wu's defenses. "Throwing myself into my arms? How could that be? I would never do that." Ho Wu seemed to have her secret exposed, her eyes filled with panic. Perhaps deep down, she had indeed had such thoughts. "Is that so? Then I'm relieved." Du Yuan smiled teasingly, already having a pretty good idea of the reasons behind Ho Wu's flushed face. "You." Ho Wu gritted her teeth and snorted coldly. "HMPH. Think what you want. I came to find Yi Chu to challenge him." Ho Wu stared directly at Yi Chu. "Do you have the guts to fight me without using your martial spirit?" Yi Chu was stunned for a moment, but Du Yuan beside him laughed. All the sisters knew Yi Chu's hand-to-hand combat abilities very well. Even Liu Erlong couldn't gain much of an advantage. Many times, he would collapse from exhaustion or overjoyed. Yi Chu shook his head, waved his hand, and was about to leave with Du Yuan. "Sorry, I don't have time." "You?" Ho Wu's pupils suddenly contracted. "Isn't your close combat ability very strong? Why don't you fight me?" Yi Chu frowned, stared at Ho Wu, and looking at this woman who was like a flame, he repeated again, "Sorry, I don't have time." After saying that, Yichu turned around and walked towards the group of Lanba Academy members, not wanting to get entangled with Xiao Wu any further. Just now on the central arena, he was confessed to by Shui Yue in public, which was enough for him to suffer. If you were to do anything with Xiao Wu, Ningrongrong and Xiao Wu would keep bothering him. You, stop right there. Yichu's disregard made Xiao Wu furious, and the emotions that had been suppressed for many days finally exploded. Her right leg suddenly flew up, heading straight for Yichu's head. She was already tall and long-legged, and this move made her seem like lightning. But with Yichu's keen senses, how could she easily succeed? Holding Du Yan, he took a slight step forward, released her, and with a half-turn of his body, his left hand lashed out, directly grabbing Xiao Wu's ankle. Xiao Wu felt as if the force of her kick had vanished into thin air, instantly disappearing under the slight tremor of Yichu's arm. Yichu's hand, gripping her ankle, was like cast iron, and no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't pull it back. That left hand had turned the color of white jade. You let me go." Xiao Wu covered her short skirt, her face burning. Yichu frowned, raised his left hand, pushed Xiao Wu's long leg, and released her. Xiao Wu staggered and was supported by Hou Wuxiang. "Fighting you without using your martial spirit, what's the result anyway? I have no interest in this kind of meaningless competition. Even if your brother came, he wouldn't be my match. You should go back and cultivate properly. We'll meet again in the advancement competition." Yichu shrugged helplessly and was about to leave again. Xiao Wu shouted, "Yichu, why don't you face my Hou Wuxiang directly? Is it because you're afraid? Or do you look down on my strength?" Yichu frowned. "What was all this about? Xiao Wu, I advise you to stop thinking about these things. I didn't mean to look down on you, Yichu. You stop right there. You just wait, I'll definitely make you pay." Xiao Wu wanted to rush out again, but Hou Wuxiang forcibly pulled her back. "Don't waste your energy. You're indeed no match for him," Hou Wuxiang sighed, holding his sister tightly. As an observer, he could see that Yichu didn't mean it that way. But his sister was too competitive. She often had a habit of trying to outdo Shuibinger and the others, and now she naturally felt a bit resentful. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 502. Yichu has a big secret. "Brother," Hou Wu's eyes reddened. Her competitive nature rarely allowed her to view things objectively. But Yichu's indifference made her very sad. Hou Wuxiang sighed softly. "Silly sister, if you really want to defeat him, you need to keep training. Win with your own strength. What's the use of being unreasonable? Keep trying, we still have a chance in the qualifying rounds." Hou Wuxiang patted his sister's shoulder helplessly. He was also holding back his anger. When Yichu said he couldn't beat him, his tone was too self-righteous. It made him feel powerless and annoyed. That's right, I'm here too. Xiao Wu, although I lost to him in the preliminaries, if I have the chance in the qualifying rounds, I will definitely help you get revenge." Feng Xiaoshan appeared out of nowhere, saying indignantly. "HMPH. You're just a defeated opponent, what right do you have to vent your anger on me?" Xiao Wu snorted coldly, seemingly using Feng Xiaoshan, who had come up to her, as a punching bag. Feng Xiaoshan chuckled awkwardly, saying, "Haha, Xiao Wu, I didn't say I wanted to beat him up. I can help you scold him, however, Xiao Wu, I still have to remind you, don't lose track of Yichu." Feng Xiaoshan smiled faintly. He knew Xiao Wu quite well. She would only go out of her way to find someone she liked. Otherwise, she wouldn't care at all. Xiao Wu retorted excitedly, "Feng Xiaoshan, what nonsense are you talking about? What do you mean by losing track of him? I just wanted to teach him a lesson." From the entrance of the Heaven Da Great Soul Arena, Yichu walked towards the Blue Tyrant Academy with the other women. Yichu didn't think much about the olive branch extended by Emperor Zuyi. It wasn't a problem for him to consider. Not to mention his powerful background, aside from the Clear Sky sect, almost all the other titled Daulus have some connection with him. Furthermore, Zuke is one of his women. Titles are less important than anything else, his Soul Palace territory is already vast. "Xiao Chu, what should we do for this month?" Xiao Wu playfully took Yichu's hand and shook it. "What else can we do?" "Cultivate, of course." Yichu rolled his eyes. If his hands weren't being held, he probably would have knocked her head. Xiao Wu blinked her large, round, crimson eyes. "But we can't just cultivate all the time. For example, we can go sightseeing." "Xiao Chu, can't you go to many places?" "Sister Xiao Wu wants to go." Yichu nodded helplessly, agreeing. Then let's go when you have time to cultivate. Cultivation is the main thing. Turning to Du Yan beside him, he instructed, Yan, you can try to break through to Soul King within this month. I have a feeling the final competition might be a bit difficult. Don't worry, I'll break through soon. Du Yan smiled, gathering her long, purple and green hair and twirling it between her fingers. Husband, don't worry, we'll both cultivate diligently. Zhu Huqing smiled gently. She hadn't slacked off at all. Yi Chu nodded. The magnificent platinum main classroom, exceeding 200 square meters, was spacious and filled with various treasures. Salas sat behind his extravagantly large desk, in front of him a document, files gathered from various towns. It must be said, the Spirit Hall's efficiency was quite high. In just 1 month, like finding a needle in a haystack, they had found the necessary documents from the Spirit Hall's registration files in various cities. Salas had already looked at this document for the 7th time, yet he still couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. The document before him contained the information of several soul masters, including Yi Chu from Blue Tyrant Academy and several other girls. In Salas's hand was Xiao Wu's information. The information was very detailed, from Xiao Wu's enrollment to her first registration at the Spirit Hall, confirming her soul master status, to every soul master subsidy she received and every title upgrade after adding a soul ring. Every detail was there. The other girls' information was similar. Salas found all those recorded by the Spirit Hall. However, Yi Chu's information puzzled Salas. There was a long gap in the information. The only clue came from the girl named Xiao Wu, who had attended Notting Academy with him. Following this lead, he traced it to Bidao village and found some information. Not only had Yi Chu's appearance changed drastically, but so had his talent and potential. His martial soul was clearly the red eye, a first-level innate soul power. Yi Chu held a great secret. Salas was certain. But he dared not entertain any thoughts. This was a genius even the Pope was paying attention to. Similar to Yi Chu was Xiao Lan, who seemed to appear out of thin air, her first appearance being beside Yi Chu. Yet, there was no information available about her awakening her martial soul. Salas continued looking at the data, and before he knew it, he had read it again. He had to admit the terrifying talent of Yi Chu and the others. What kind of soul rings they obtained, what level of soul power they possessed, these were not the reason Salas had read the data 7 times. The reason he had read it so many times was simply because of that one number, the number representing their age. Teenagers, only teenagers. Yi Chu, Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong, and the others were all teenagers, soul masters above level 45. Zhu Huqing's talent was even more terrifying, yet she was already a soul master above level 45. And there was Du Guyan, approaching Soul King at such a young age, and her 4th ring was still black. Salas slapped his forehead, truly unwilling to believe it was real. Salas stood up and walked to the bookshelf behind his desk. He reached out and pulled on a thick book, and with a creaking sound, the bookshelf slowly slid aside, revealing a wall. On the wall was a square metal plate, emitting a faint fluctuation of soul power. Clearly, this metal plate was a soul tool. He pressed his right palm against it, and instantly, a faint red light emanated from the metal plate, covering Salas's hand. Another creaking sound followed, and the metal plate slowly sank inward, revealing a small square space, only about 1 square foot in size, containing a stack of documents. Salas quickly flipped through them, pulling out a document marked Top Secret. The document contained only 3 sheets of paper, each with 3 documents. Salas carefully searched through the documents and quickly found what he needed. Have a nice day. Chapter 503 Yi Chu's Imaginary Twin Flowers. The youngest of the 3 has only reached level 40 in soul power, while Yi Chu and the others have already surpassed level 45. Salas slammed the documents shut with a snap. He quickly closed the hidden compartment, strode back to his desk, picked up the documents again, and looked at the numbers for the 8th time. The talent is even more terrifying than the Golden Generation, and there's more than one of them. This is truly interesting. I wonder why His Holiness the Pope only pays attention to Yi Chu, but he is indeed the strongest. Hiss, Salas suddenly gasped. Those exceptionally talented girls all seem to have some connection with Yi Chu, and his own martial soul has also evolved. Could it be that he can help people quickly increase their strength? The more Salas thought about it, the more convinced he became of his deduction. Otherwise, as the Pope, how could he ignore those geniuses and only care about Yi Chu? He even said that anyone who dared to harm him would die. This contradicts the rumor that His Holiness the Pope hates men. As for the credibility of this rumor, Salas still believed it. After all, aside from the androgynous chrysanthemum Douluo and his best friend Ghost Douluo who always hide under his black robes, only Spirit Kite Douluo and His Holiness the Pope were truly close. Perhaps the Pope's order was to prevent Yichu's secret from being leaked. Although he had some guesses about the Pope's arrangements, Salas still dutifully took a pen and scribbled on a piece of paper, quickly finishing a letter. He left 5 words on the envelope: top secret, to the Pope. Influenced by the Snow Emperor's tough stance that night, he couldn't help but want to advise His Holiness not to let those young talents go unpunished. Night fell. Just as Yichu was about to pick up Zhu's Huking and carry her into the bathroom for a heart-to-heart talk, the smile on his face suddenly froze. Zhu's Huking, her face flushed, waiting for her emptiness to be filled, both expectant and fearful, noticed his dazed expression. She couldn't help but ask with concern, "Husband, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Zhu's Huking's soft hand, which was covering her body, gently brushed against Yichu's chest and pressed against his forehead. Yichu shook his head slightly. He chuckled and said, "No, what could possibly be wrong with my body? I'm perfectly healthy." Before he finished speaking, a hint of embarrassment appeared on Yichu's face. "Then what's wrong with you?" Zhu's Huking wrapped her arms around his neck. She could clearly feel Yichu's steely, fiery will, but Yichu had actually stopped? This was so unlike him. Perhaps he would have acted this way before, wanting to do something but restrained by many concerns. But so much time had passed, and he was no longer that naive young man. Just looking at his current technique, even Spider-Man couldn't match his agility. Zhuking, it's your sister calling me again," Yichu explained with an embarrassed smile. "My sister?" Zhu's Huking frowned, her expression inscrutable and constantly changing. After a long while, she gently kissed Yichu's lips. She said softly, "Since that's the case, then put me down first. Let's go over there and see if we really encounter any danger, huh?" "Zhu Qing, aren't you coming with me?" Yichu looked at her in surprise. After Yichu stumbled upon the sisters bathing, Zhu Zuyun had called for Yichu several times. But at that time, Yichu would always go to Zhu Qing first and then take her with him. Now, suddenly asking him to go alone, Yichu was afraid that he would be completely devoured by Zhu Zuyun. After all, she had absolutely no inhibitions. Even when Zhu Qing was sitting there, she could find opportunities to seduce him, occasionally putting her jade feet on his legs, which was really infuriating. What's more, she would take advantage of Zhu Qing's inattention to directly lift her clothes, and it was better than just exposing her shoulders. A few times she almost exposed her breasts. This made Yichu uneasy. Every time he came back, he would drag Zhu Qing around until very late, but the person under him would always vaguely change into the image of Zhu Zuyun. This feeling is simply awful. "I won't go this time, you go by yourself," Zhu Huking said softly, gently leaning against Yichu's chest, nuzzling him like a kitten. She knew everything Zhu Huiyan had done. Sometimes she seemed not to notice, but in that secret room, she was actually very vigilant. Even when not directly facing Zhu Huiyan, her gaze was intentionally or unintentionally focused on her. Even she herself was terrified by Zhu Huiyan's actions. So many times, Zhu Huiyan had been so audacious. Zhu Huking understood that her sister would absolutely not let it go. There was no need to persist any longer. Besides, Yichu must be feeling terrible too. Thinking of this, Zhu Huking couldn't help but bite Yichu twice, raising her eyes to glare at him with resentment. Just then, "Husband, why aren't you coming in yet?" Suddenly, Zhu Huking's voice came from the bathroom, and a fiery figure emerged, her eyes alluring PFFT. With a muffled thud, the figure vanished. It was Zhu Huking's clone. Yichu's expression flickered, looking at the beauty in his arms, a hint of confusion in his eyes. "Zhuking, why are you suddenly looking at me like that, don't you know?" Zhu Huking looked at his innocent face, wanting nothing more than to kick him in the face. But she couldn't bring herself to do it, she only thought about it. "Is it because of your sister?" Yichu asked tentatively. Yes and no, Zhu Huking shook her head, then nodded, looking at Yichu seriously, and said solemnly, "Answer me seriously, why did you used to like me creating 6 clones for your amusement, but later you only wanted me to create 1? Yichu was stunned, his old face flushing slightly, as if caught on the act. He wanted to explain, but he didn't want to lie to her. Seeing his expression, Zhu Zhuking's delicate brows furrowed slightly, and she said knowingly, I knew it. Rong was right, you really can't resist temptation. Yi Chu stammered an explanation. Sisters Huayan is just too much to handle. Zhu Zhuking blushed. She understood that with Zhu Huayan's assets, if she let loose, it would be easy for Yi Chu, who had now become a predator, to be tempted. Alright, put me down. Zhu Zhuking wasn't too angry. She had already been furious after seeing Zhu Huayan seduce her man so many times when she accompanied Yi Chu earlier. Why don't we go together? Yi Chu suggested. No need, I'm fine. I can accept her, Zhu Zhuking reassured him with a light laugh. P.S. Next chapter, under review. Sorry, wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 504 Zhu Huayan's injury. To be honest, she still hoped Zhu Huayan could find a good match. Things had already come to this, and her continued stance in the middle only annoyed both of them. Alright, let's go quickly. I'm really fine. What if she's in danger? Zhu Zhuking gently nudged Yi Chu, her smile genuine. Yi Chu nodded slightly, no longer hesitating. Douluo's words echoed in his ears, if you like someone, go for it. It's better to have a clear understanding than to leave with regrets. It saves a lot of time from agonizing and hesitating. Besides, now that Zhu Zhuking had agreed, what was there left to hide? Thank you, Zhuking, Yi Chu murmured, lowering his head to capture Zhu Zhuking's red lips, savoring their beauty. After a long while, their lips parted. Zhu Zhuking pursed her lips, her face flushed. I should be thanking you, my husband, for rescuing us from that quagmire. Zhuking, don't say that. A hint of guilt appeared on Yi Chu's face. I want it, Zhu Zhuking, unusually playful, giggled. She was naturally pleased that Yi Chu felt guilty. It meant he would love her even more. Alright, let me help you put your clothes on. If she wants to see, tell her to take them off herself. Zhu Zhuking jumped down, picked up the clothes, and began to dress Yi Chu. Yi Chu smiled helplessly and cooperated. Once dressed, Yi Chu kissed Zhu Zhuking goodbye and then disappeared from the room. Zhu Zhuking looked at the empty room. Yi Chu's warmth seemed to linger in the air. You made me waste the night I finally got to spend, but once you're inside, I'll let you call me sister. That's not too much to ask, is it? Zhu Zhuking chuckled. She'd been teased by Yi Chu and was feeling a bit weak, so she unconsciously mimicked his movements, moving her hands down to massage herself. Yi Chu traveled through the divine might space. In a few breaths, he arrived at Zhu Huayan's secret chamber. His first glance was at the deserted bathtub. This time, Zhu Huayan wasn't waiting for him. Giggle, a soft laugh rang out. Zhu Huayan's teasing voice came through. Little Chu, so you still really want to see your sister's Huayan's body, huh? Her voice, though charming, was weak and listless, as if she were recovering from a serious illness. Yi Chu immediately frowned. Turning around, he saw Zhu Huayan sitting at the table, rubbing her chin with one hand, smiling at Yi Chu. Her face and lips were pale, and her expression was listless. She was clearly seriously injured. Sisters Huayan, you're injured. Yi Chu was stunned, not expecting Zhu Huayan to actually be injured. He was immediately surprised and quickly stepped forward, placing his hand on her shoulder from behind. Zhu Huayan suddenly groaned, her body convulsing in pain. Xiao Chu, Yi Chu immediately removed his hand, the touch revealing bandages wrapped under her clothes. Sisters Huayan, don't speak yet, let me treat you. Wait a moment, Zhu Huayan smiled, not in a hurry. She enjoyed Yi Chu's concern. She wasn't completely ignored by Yi Chu, was she? Looking at Yi Chu's face, Zhu Huayan slowly unbuttoned her clothes, revealing her bare shoulders. Although her pink and white breasts, not completely covered by black lace, were partially exposed, Yi Chu completely ignored them. He only looked at Zhu Huayan's back, below her right shoulder, at the bloody bandage. After untying her clothes, Zhu Huayan also unwrapped the bandages binding her body. The bright moon swayed twice, like a rabbit leaping away. But Yi Chu had no time to admire the moon. He was only staring at the wounds that were now fully exposed before his eyes. On Zhu Huayan's smooth, porcelain white back, tinged with a rosy hue, were 5 bloody wounds, the flesh torn and still oozing blood. The claw marks were easily recognizable as wounds left by a beast spirit attack. Judging from the lingering aura, they were filled with evil. Sisters Huayan, who hurt you? Could it be someone from the Dai family of the Starluo royal family, as the fiancée of the eldest prince of the Starluo Empire, the eldest daughter of the Zhu family, and the future crown princess and empress, no one in Douluo City would dare to provoke Zhu Huayan. Apart from the Dai family, Yichu couldn't think of anyone else. What? Xiaochu wants to revenge me. Zhu Huayan suddenly grabbed Yichu's hand, pulling him to her left. If Sister Huayan is willing to tell me and point me in the right direction, of course I want to revenge you. Yichu frowned, standing to her left, and gently placed his hand on her right shoulder, above her uninjured area. The life-giving power activated, a shimmering green light spreading, slowly healing. Yichu's warm soul power flowed in, and Zhu Huayan's shoulder was instantly bathed in a vibrant glow. A slight blush appeared on her pale face. Although she had gone to great lengths to seduce Yichu, it didn't prevent her from showing a shy expression at this moment. It would be frightening to be manipulated and teased by the person you love without reacting. Zhu Huayan picked up the water glass on the table, took a small sip, and didn't mention asking Yichu for revenge for the time being. Instead, she looked up and asked, "Speaking of which, Xiaochu, didn't you tell Zhu Qing you were henpecked this time? Why didn't you come with her?" If Yichu didn't have feelings for her, Zhu Qing definitely wouldn't have given in. Yichu rolled his eyes. How could he be henpecked? He clearly respected Zhu Qing's opinion. "Zhu Qing told me to come by myself," Yichu truthfully replied. "Is that so? Then I won't be polite, sister." Zhu Yun raised an eyebrow, a sly smile on her face. No one knows a sister better than her sister. Zhu Qing's absence this time was already a signal that she could do whatever she wanted. It was hard to say at other times, but at least now, in this secret room, she could do whatever she wanted. Of course, that was assuming Yichu agreed. However, Zhu Yun wasn't worried about that at all. She was very confident in her charm. And if Yichu didn't have feelings for her, Zhu Qing definitely wouldn't have given in. Thinking of all this, Zhu Huayan no longer hesitated and gently leaned into Yichu's arms. Yichu remained calm and composed, not pushing her away. Instead, he placed one hand on her right shoulder and gently cradled her head with the other, stroking it softly. Feeling Yichu's tenderness, Zhu Huayan couldn't help but smile contentedly. She smelled a familiar fragrance emanating from him, Yichu's own scent, Zhu Qing's natural fragrance, and a peculiar scent she could only detect after she had taken matters into her own hands when she longed for Yichu to the core. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 505 That Lunatic Davis. Smelling the still slightly damp scent emanating from Yichu, Zhu Huayan blushed and nuzzled against his stomach, teasingly saying, "Looks like my call was a bit inappropriate, interrupting your love-making night with Zhu Qing." She hadn't expected Zhu Qing to be so open. Zhu Huayan only knew a little about Yichu and his women from Zhu Qing. It would take many days for them to take turns, and Yichu didn't have time for them every night. He also made time for cultivation. How could that be? Yichu shook his head slightly, comforting her. "Sisters Huayan, you were injured this time. If Zhu Qing knew, she would be even more worried than me. In this emergency, calling me twice wouldn't be an exaggeration." Zhu Huayan touched her eyes. There was still some blood at the corner of her eye. He pouted, "Using your soul skill twice, won't my eyes hurt terribly? I might not even be able to see you arrive at the secret chamber immediately." "I'll heal Sisters Huayan," Yichu said softly, his hand that had been stroking Zhu Huayan's head now gently caressing her pretty face. Warm soul power overflowed. Zhu Huayan could feel the warmth and ticklish sensation. Yichu could also clearly feel the heat on her face, and the comforting kiss from Zhu Huayan's lips in his palm. "Then I'll thank you in advance, Xiaochu." Like a kitten, Zhu Huayan playfully stuck out her tongue and gently kissed Yichu's palm. Yichu was uneasy. Zhu Huayan, leaning against Yichu's chest, immediately felt Yichu's steely, fiery will rush towards her face. That thick, scalding breath made her face flush. Yichu awkwardly shifted his body, while Zhu Huayan hugged his waist, burying her head in Yichu's arms. "Xiaochu, with so many women around, are you still shy?" "I'm not shy," Yichu stammered. He felt he wasn't actually shy, but rather that pointing at someone was inappropriate. Especially since this person was Zhu Qing's sister. Zhu Huayan's face flushed red. Now that Zhu Qing wasn't around, this was her perfect opportunity to take over. She refused to believe that with her fiery assets, she couldn't win over Yichu. She pressed her chest against him, hugging him tightly, and said in a trembling voice, "Perfect, I'm a little cold, come closer." Yichu felt his will soften, and his body swayed uncontrollably. He let out a long breath. Looking at Zhu Huayan hugging him tightly, Yichu gradually became more at ease. Since he already had feelings for her, why hide them? Letting Zhu Huayan press against him, Yichu focused on treating the wound on her back. He watched the torn flesh gradually heal. Yichu couldn't help but remind her, Sister Zhu Yun, I wasn't joking with you just now. If there's an emergency next time, just use both of your soul skills. Otherwise, I might not be able to get here in time. During this period, every time Zhu Yun wanted to see Yichu, she would activate the soul skill that Yichu had stored in her eyes. What should have been used for warning and survival had become a signal transmitter. After this happened a lot, it was like crying wolf, making Yichu less serious. Before coming, he was even flirting with Zhu Qing. Zhu Yun, who was blowing a hot, humid breeze towards Yichu, fueling his arrogance, suddenly looked up. What? After this incident, even if I use only one, Xiao Chu still won't be nervous, Yichu said helplessly. Of course not, but then haha, alright, I know. Zhu Qing has many sisters. You can't possibly focus all your attention on me. Zhu Yun laughed twice and flicked Xiao Chu in front of her. Xiao Chu, I've remembered what you said. Yichu's face darkened. Zhu Huayan's behavior was incredibly impolite, practically a blatant provocation. The other women, even Ning Rongrong, always treated him with utmost respect, gently inviting him out and gently sending him back. If it weren't for his promise to Ning Rongrong and his concern for Zhu Huayan's injury, Yichu would have wanted to show Zhu Huayan his power right now. PFFT, ha. Zhu Huayan swept her short, neat hair back, revealing her delicate, fiery red face. She tilted her head back, her narrow chest fully exposed to Yichu's view. Yichu suddenly felt his head spinning. Sister Huayan, stop it. By this time, Yichu had healed her injuries. Suppressing his thirst, he pulled up Zhu Huayan's clothes, covering her smooth, porcelain-like shoulders. He then quickly withdrew. Caught off guard, Zhu Huayan allowed Yichu to escape. Seeing him sitting awkwardly opposite her, his face flushed, she couldn't help but give him a resentful glare. Xiao Chu, am I that scary? I already told you, you can do whatever you want to me. With that, Zhu Huayan, somewhat rebelliously, pulled the clothes Yichu had helped her pull back down. What was originally just a single shoulder sling now revealed both shoulders and a hint of her full, white, crescent-shaped breasts. Yichu sighed helplessly, smiling. Sister Huayan, let's talk about something serious. What? My life's most important matter, isn't that serious? Zhu Huayan raised an eyebrow, secretly pleased by Yichu's intentional or unintentional glances. Yichu opened his mouth. Zhu Huayan's offensive was too intense, he was finding it difficult to resist. He wanted to pour himself a cup of tea, but Zhu Huayan handed him her teacup instead. This is the one you always use. Zhu Huayan's face flushed slightly. Sometimes, she thought she was a pervert, liking to sit in the spot Yichu had sat in and use his cup. But what could she do? They were so far apart, and Zhu Qing was always nearby whenever Yichu came over. This was the only way she could ease her longing. What embarrassed her most was adding extra hot water to the bathtub while bathing. Yichu paused, giving Zhu Huayan, whose face was flushed and somewhat ashamed, a strange look. He reached out and took the teacup, smiling. Thank you, Sister Huayan, HMPH. Don't let me hear those two words again. Zhu Huayan lowered her eyes, gave a soft snort, and picked up the teapot to pour herself another cup. Okay, I'll be careful. Yichu nodded slightly, seeing that Zhu Huayan's temper had softened. He couldn't help but ask, Sister Huayan, you still haven't told me who hurt you. Hearing this, Zhu Huayan, who was about to drink her tea, suddenly dropped her shy demeanor. Her expression turned cold and somewhat solemn, her queenly demeanor returning. She replied in a cold voice, who else could it be? Of course, it's that lunatic, Crown Prince Davis of the Douluo Empire, a lunatic. Yichu's eyes showed curiosity. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 506 Zhu Huayan prays for love. Yichu's expression was strange. Another lunatic? The last time he heard a similar description was when Jin Ringsu mentioned Bibi Dong. Yichu asked curiously, Sister Zhu Yun, why did he suddenly hurt you? Why? Zhu Zuyun murmured, her cold expression softening as she gently looked at Yichu, resting her chin on her hand. She smiled and said, of course, it's related to you, Xiao Chu. Related to me? Yichu pointed at himself in surprise. Could it be that Davis knew Zhu Zuyun wanted to cheat on him? So he was angry and hurt Zhu Zuyun? But as long as Zhu Zuyun didn't tell anyone, no one would know, right? After all, Yichu and Zhu Zuyun's interactions, aside from helping her hunt for her fourth spirit ring, only existed in this secret room. Sister Zuyun, could you explain more clearly? Alright, Zhu Zuyun nodded slightly and said seriously, actually, it's because of the fourth spirit ring you gave me, Xiao Chu. My fourth spirit ring has always been well disguised, but during training today, for some reason, Davis seemed to have discovered something and wanted to examine my body and check my fourth spirit ring. Of course, I couldn't agree to that, so I clashed with him and got scratched by his tiger claws. Hearing Zhu Zuyun's words, Yichu's expression also became somewhat solemn. You see, apart from Xiao Lan, the women's method of concealing the color of their spirit rings all came from Jinring Su. And this method prevented Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo from detecting the true color of their spirit rings. But Davis was able to detect the clues. Combining what Zhu Zuyun had said before, that Davis had become very strong and somewhat abnormal, and was involved with evil spirit masters, Yichu couldn't help but take Davis seriously. Then, Sisters Huayan, why did you say Davis is a lunatic, HMPH? Sometimes he seems like a completely different person, Zhu Huayan snorted coldly. She explained in detail, 1 minute he's cold to me, like he doesn't know me, and he's arrogant towards everyone else. The next minute he's very attentive, always clinging to me, and he's much more polite to everyone else. What's worse, he injured me this afternoon, and this evening he came to my house to apologize, saying that injuring me wasn't his intention. He's simply insane. Yichu narrowed his eyes. From Zhu Huayan's few words, Yichu had to admit that Davis was indeed a bit mentally unstable. But Yichu didn't understand what was wrong with him. The only thing he was certain of was that Davis's changes were related to those evil soul masters. And the mastermind behind it was very likely that the level 99 elder of the Star Luo Empire, the Limit Douluo demon. As Yichu was pondering, his leg suddenly felt heavy. It turned out that Zhu Huayan had already extended her jade foot, rubbing against the inside of Yichu's thigh. Yichu rolled his eyes and pushed away those round, delicate jade feet. Sister Zuyun, aren't you tired? Tired of what? Can I have long legs? Zhu Zuyun showed no sign of giving up, instead intensifying her efforts, determined to step on his crotch. Seeing the doubt in Yichu's eyes, Zhu Zuyun stopped teasing him. Xiao Chu, you don't need to go to so much trouble. If you want to know what's going on, Sister Zuyun can help you find out. No need, Yichu quickly stopped her. These evil soul masters were no pushovers, and Yichu didn't trust Zhu Zuyun to gather any information. Something could easily go wrong. Sister Zuyun, I'm really worried about you taking such a risk. I'd better not. I'll handle it myself. Alright then. We should all meet during the Soul Master competition finals. You can see for yourself then. I'm too weak to cause trouble, Zhu Zuyun nodded. Her current cultivation level was only comparable to Zhu Zuqing's, not even a Soul King. She wouldn't last more than a few moves against Davis. Moreover, she was also very afraid of the abnormal Davis. She always felt that the person was no longer the original Davis. The Davis of the past would never have shown any murderous intent towards her. It was only because she was the key to his succession to the throne. Without a martial soul fusion skill, one was not qualified to become the Emperor or Empress of the Star Luo Empire. That's good. Sisters Huayan, please be careful in everything you do. I may have to go back first. Although he had come over, after dealing with things, Yichu did not forget Zhu Zuqing, who was left alone in the empty room. It was indeed wrong of him to neglect her because of Zhu Huayan. Leaving already? Not staying overnight. Zhu Huayan's red lips curled slightly. Her beauty was captivating, and her eyes were alluring. This was a rare opportunity. She had already activated Yichu's state. Was she going to let him go back and harm her sister? No, it was better to let him go. As the older sister, she had an obligation to protect her younger sister. It was more appropriate for her to bear the storms. No, Sisters Huayan, please rest early. Yichu gently shook his head. Zhu Huayan frowned slightly, not wanting to rush things and scare him. Then have another cup of tea, Okay, Yichu nodded slightly. Seeing Yichu about to pour more tea, Zhu Huan conscientiously poured her unfinished tea into his cup. She couldn't let Yichu just laugh at her. She also had to let him know how painful it was for her to miss him. Yichu chuckled. Ningrongrong and the others had done this countless times before, and he wouldn't mind. After all, they hadn't looked down on him when they formed a deep friendship with him, had they? Xiao, just as Yichu was about to finish his tea, Zhu Huan called softly. She stood up and walked gracefully to Yichu, looking down at him. Sister Huan, what's wrong? Yichu looked up at her curiously. Your sister Zuyun has a gift for you today. Zuyun bit her luscious red lips, her face flushing crimson. To Yichu's surprise, she suddenly knelt on one knee before him. Sister Zuyun, what are you doing? Yichu quickly understood what Zuyun was about to do. Zuyun lowered her head, holding something in her hands, her eyes filled with a delicate, alluring charm. In the dimly lit secret room, Zuyun knelt on one knee, facing Yichu. She was performing a devout ritual, repeatedly bowing slightly, her movements neither hurried nor slow. Yichu sat in his seat, receiving the baptism of this ritual. It seemed even his soul was being cleansed. Every cell in his body relaxed, a warm current surging within him. Zuyun looked up. Her pale purple eyes met Yichu's. The tenderness and comfort in his eyes were exactly what she needed. She playfully stuck out her tongue at Yichu. For Yichu's sake, to make him understand her feelings and seize this opportunity, Zhu Huan had no choice but to kneel before him. In the name of love, she prayed earnestly, hoping Yichu would spare a little warmth for her. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 507 Women who are in love are prone to anxiety and insecurity. The ceremony continued. Zhu Huan, with her clumsy yet gentle and sincere skills, cleansed Yichu of distracting thoughts. She knelt on one knee before Yichu. The speed of Zhu Huan's bows carried a strange rhythm, like a secret code, communicating with heaven and earth, stirring Yichu's nerves. Sometimes unhurried, sometimes swift as the wind. Until Yichu realized that the energy within him had completely burst forth, he immediately grasped Zhu Huan's soft hair. Not wanting her efforts to be in vain, he offered her some of his warmth as she wished. Yichu's heart felt cleansed, filled with tranquility. Zhu Huan bowed deeply again. She glanced at Yichu with gentle eyes, then carefully bowed several more times, as if to conclude the ceremony. Her throat bobbed, and she finally raised her head. She lowered her hands, which had been holding the object in front of her, and placed it back in its original position. Yichu let out a long sigh of relief. Zhu Huan's gift was truly tender and heartwarming. Watching Zhu Huan rise and gently touch her lips, Yichu handed her the warm tea. Sister Huan, she said, but Zhu Huan shook her head slightly and pursed her red lips. She stepped forward coquettishly, grabbed Yichu's collar, and nestled into his lap. Holding Yichu's face, she gazed at him quietly, as if wanting to etch his features into her heart. Then, she turned her head and leaned against Yichu. She said softly, I want you to feed me, Xiao. Yichu nodded slightly, took the cup, and gently brought it to Zhu Huan's lips. Watching her slowly sip and accept everything Yichu fed her, she didn't reject anything about Yichu. She was willing to accept anything from him, those women, including enemies, everything. She had long been prepared. After finishing the hot tea, Zhu Huan pursed her red lips, making sure she had finished drinking, before cupping Yichu's face in her hands. She gradually moved closer to him. Xiao, is this gift to your liking, Sister Huan? Yichu didn't speak, but instead reached out and embraced her waist, pulling her into his arms. Their hearts were intertwined, and Yichu could deeply feel her softness. In the dimly lit room, Yichu gently captured Zhu Huan's red lips with his. Zhu Huan let out a soft moan, her eyes filled with boundless joy, and she awkwardly responded. This was Yichu's first kiss. She naturally hoped it would last, obediently cooperating and following Yichu's rhythm. She felt a slight tightness in her conscience, but remained unmoved, simply blushing, hooking her arms around Yichu's neck, and slightly bowing her body to make it easier for him to reach her. Their passionate kiss seemed to add fuel to the fire in the dimly lit room, raising the temperature slightly. Soon, Zhu Huan witnessed Yichu's childishness. Zhu Huking had once told her that Yichu was very childish, loving milk, cat milk, rabbit milk, dragon milk, even alpine grass milk, and he would let them drink with him. However, They all used Yichu's straws, while Yichu childishly used a pacifier, which seemed strange. But Yichu's daily life with Ningrongrong and the other girls was just that simple and unpretentious. Xiao Zu's Huayan softly called, gently pulling Yichu's head into her arms. Yichu wouldn't be stingy with adding more straws, and she naturally wouldn't be stingy when entertaining him. Facing Zu's Huayan, who is even more outstanding than Zu's Huking. If she wanted to drink, Yichu wouldn't be polite. This was a rare opportunity to drink freely. He pushed horizontally with both hands, from top to bottom. Zu's Huayan's voluptuousness was no less than Liu Erlong's, but she lacked a certain mature charm. That kind of allure needed time to mature. Although Zu's Huayan was very attractive to Yichu, he ultimately stopped. He hadn't forgotten his promise to Ningrongrong, nor the strange Davis. Since he could see the problem with his soul ring, discerning whether someone was a virgin from their eyes wouldn't be difficult. If he found out that Zu's Huayan had cheated on him, it would be dangerous. Zu's Huayan nestled in Yichu's arms, her already loose clothes slightly disheveled, looking up at him with confusion. Xiao, why, sisters Huayan, it's not the right time yet. Yichu's hands glowed with green light, sliding over Zu's Huayan's delicate body, erasing the marks. He also explained his concerns to her. Oh, I see. I thought I wasn't good enough for Xiao. Zu's Huayan pursed her red lips, her face flushed, her soft body gently rubbing against Yichu. Yichu paused, looking at Zu's Huayan strangely, and reached out to pinch her. Sisters Huayan, do you really think this way? When Zu's Huayan seduced him before, her confident demeanor showed no sign of this worry. Clearly, Zu's Huayan knew what Yichu was thinking, her face flushed crimson, and she gently bit Yichu's neck. Xiao, don't you know women are prone to insecurity, especially women in love? Zu's Huayan's bite turned into a kiss, kissing Yichu's cheek and earlobe, her breath sweet as orchids. She and Yichu had finally achieved something. Heaven knows how much she wanted to abandon everything and be by Yichu's side, like Zu's Huking and the others, inseparable from him. But she knew she couldn't. She and Zu's Huking were the only two candidates for Crown Princess and Empress in the Douluo Empire. Now that Zu's Huking was no longer an option, she became the only one. If she also left with Yichu, it meant Yichu would bear the pressure from the entire Douluo Empire. This was something Zu's Huayan didn't want to see. Therefore, she couldn't go with Yichu. She had to wait until Yichu became stronger, or until a good opportunity arose, to give herself completely to Yichu. That way, even if she died, she would have no regrets. Sister Zuyun, I should go, Yichu said softly. Zuyun's kiss stopped, and Yichu was about to straighten her clothes when Zuyun pulled him down again. Xiao, help me prepare the bath water. How about you carry me there? Yichu was dazzled by the snow-white skin before him and nodded gently. He picked up Zuyun and placed her on a chair, then walked towards the bathtub. After filling the tub with water, he used the power of the ultimate fire to heat it up. Alright, Sister Zuyun. Yichu clapped his hands, turned around, and immediately froze on the spot, looking at the jade-like body in front of him, swallowing hard. Zu's Huayan, who had already removed her blood-stained clothes, lay on the table, her legs curled up from the cold, her arms outstretched towards Yichu. Her ample bosom, wide and voluptuous, caught Yichu's eye. Xiao, come quickly. Zu's Huayan's seductive voice made Yichu's blood boil. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 508 Zu's Huayan's gift to Zhu Qing. Yichu's breathing was a little heavy. He shook his head before stepping forward to the table. Gazing at the alluring curves of her body, he was struck by what seemed like a breathtaking feast for the senses. Biting his tongue, Yichu tried to clear his head and avoid making a mistake. He was also thinking about how to make Ningrongrong compensate him on their engagement night. Although Ningrongrong had already demonstrated all the possible ways to play with him using her legs together, Yichu felt that he could add more elements. For example, Rongrong's martial soul. Among the several soul skills of the 9 treasure-glazed tile pagoda, both the first skill, strength, and the second, speed, were very useful amplifications. In battle, they could amplify not only his own strength but also her own, since support-type soul masters could sometimes launch powerful attacks. Thinking of Ningrongrong and his promise to her, Yichu escaped his desire. He carefully picked up Zu's Huayan, and she clung to him like an octopus, rubbing her full, delicate body against him. Yichu took each step with difficulty, feeling the heat from the friction, her face flushed. Finally, She reached the edge of the bath. Her voice was a little hoarse as she softly said, "Sisters Huayan, stop fooling around, haha, alright, I didn't expect you to be so patient, Xiao Chu." Zhu's Huayan was just testing the waters. If it worked, she would gladly accept it, if not, she wouldn't care. After all, besides Zhu's Huking, she didn't know anyone else. If she rashly cut in line and offended the other sisters, she probably wouldn't have a peaceful life after joining the family. Yi Ju carefully placed her artistically beautiful body into the hot water. The steam made her body appear hazy, adding to her allure. Yi Ju didn't dare linger any longer, taking 2 steps back to prevent Zhu's Huayan from pulling her into the water. She softly said, "Sisters Huayan, I'm leaving now. Remember to call me if you need anything." "Can't I call you if I don't need anything?" Zhu's Huayan, tucking her neat short hair behind her ear, propped her head up and looked at Yi Ju with a resentful expression. Yi Ju smiled helplessly. "Of course not, HMPH. Then hurry up and take advantage of your good mood to go back and torment Zhu Qing." Zhu's Huayan looked at Yi Ju's legs, gave a coquettish snort, her eyes filled with schadenfreude and a hint of envy. "Oh, goodbye, Sisters Huayan." Yi Ju smiled awkwardly, then disappeared from the spot. When he arrived at Zhu's Huayan's secret room, he didn't leave empty-handed. Before leaving, Zhu's Huayan gave Yi Ju a special cat toy filled with catnip extract, which cats love. Watching Yi Ju disappear, Zhu's Huayan couldn't help but place her soft hand in his, wanting to add some hot water to the bath herself. With a silly smile on her lips, she murmured, "Zhu Qing, my good sister. I've already coaxed Xiao Chu and prepared everything. You just need to take what's readily available. Consider this my way of thanking you." In the blink of an eye, Yi Ju returned to Zhu's Huking's room. Husband, Zhu's Huking was still awake, sitting cross-legged on the bed cultivating. Sensing Yi Ju's presence, she immediately opened her eyes and pounced on him. Yi Ju pulled Zhu's Huking into his arms, leaning back slightly. Zhu's Huking, holding her lover, noticed the lingering desire in his eyes and his burning breath, her face flushing slightly. She asked with concern, "Husband, she didn't do anything to you, did she?" "Nothing." Yi Ju, of course, wouldn't tell her what Zhu's Huayan had done to him. Smiling, he held Zhu's Huking close, his arms loosening and loosening, rubbing against her, before gently kissing her lips. Zhu's Huking's beautiful face flushed. Then, her brows furrowed slightly. Indeed, Yi Ju's lips carried Zhu's Huayan scent. However, she didn't say much. As for Zhu's Huayan, they had slept together before, and had even bathed together several times. She could accept it. Zhuking, Yi Ju gently lowered his head, his forehead touching Zhu's Huking's, looking into her violet eyes, his gaze filled with love. Zhu's Huking paused, noticing what Yi Ju had brought back from Zhu's Huayan. A look of understanding crossed her face, and her body softened as she nestled into Yi Ju's arms. That woman, Zhu's Huayan, was truly too much. She had stirred up this fire, and now Zhu's Huking had to put it out. However, Zhu's Huking didn't want to miss this rare night. Facing Yi Ju's kiss, Zhu's Huking blushed and silently responded, playfully sticking out her tongue at him. Yi Ju held the beauty in his arms, leading her backward. After a while, the kiss ended, and he looked up. Yi Ju raised his hand, cupping Zhu's Huking's still somewhat childlike face, which was burning hot, and gently rubbed it. Zhu's Huking gently touched Yi Ju's hand on her face, her eyes filled with tears, her lips slightly parted, breathing softly at Yi Ju. "Zhuking," Yi Ju murmured, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, leaning down to kiss her luscious earlobe. "Husband, Zhu's Huking moaned softly, her soft body pressed against Yi Ju's chest. Yi Ju then placed her on his lap, sitting on a spacious single sofa. As if remembering something, he reached into his pocket and retrieved the cat toy he'd brought back from Zhu's Huayan. He said gently to Zhu's Huking, "Zhuking, let them out. It's been so long since I've played with them. I want to relax." Hearing this, Zhu's Huking looked up, giving Yi Ju a charmingly sullen glance, pursed her red lips, and obediently nodded. She immediately stood up, then lowered herself. From under the sofa, she released the 2 white and pink kittens from their slightly cramped cloth cage. "Meow," Yi Ju heard a loud meow as soon as they were released. The 2 kittens suddenly leaped up and landed in Zhu's Huking's hands, held captive to prevent them from jumping around. Yi Ju looked at them, his eyes filled with amazement. They were 2 white kittens. Plump and white, their white fur shimmered with a reddish glow under the light. Their noses were pink and slightly protruding, giving them a somewhat adorable and endearing appearance. Zhu Xiuqing quietly watched the two kittens. She exchanged a glance with Yichu and smiled slightly, her red lips pursed. Meow. Seeing the cat toy in Yichu's hand, the white kittens immediately tried to jump and pounce on it, letting out cute meows, impatient. Fortunately, with Zhu Xiuqing's soothing touch, they remained obediently in her hand, their crimson eyes darting about. At the same time, meow, a meow rang out. Suddenly, Zhu Xiuqing's body shone brightly, and 4 spirit rings appeared beneath her feet, 1 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black. As she performed her spirit possession, a black ghostly cat seemed to appear above her head. Like Zhu Xiuqing, it possessed violet-colored eyes. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 509, Teasing 3 Cats with a Cat Toy. Inside the room, Yichu, idly toying with 3 cats, was playing with a cat toy. When the black ghost cat appeared, 2 chubby, snow-white twins with reddish-white skin and pink, slightly protruding noses appeared. Meow, the black cat jumped, seemingly chasing the scent of catnip on Yichu's hand, its nose bulging. Catnip holds a certain attraction for any feline. The cat toy in Yichu's hand, filled with catnip extract, was enough to drive these 3 cats wild. Without any hesitation, Yichu, right in front of Zhu Xiuqing, grabbed the ghost cat's black tail and began to manipulate it. Zhu Xiuqing watched Yichu's provocation of the black cat and couldn't help but roll her eyes. She mentally criticized his childishness but made no attempt to stop him or take them back. Yichu had just returned from Zhu Xiuqing's place. There's definitely something bottled up inside. You need to let it out, don't let it ruin your health. Thinking this, Zhu Xiuqing mentally reprimanded Zhu Xiuqing again. Meow, the meow of the netherworld cat rang in Zhu Xiuqing's ears. Seeing Yichu dare to grab its tail, the black netherworld cat, its violet eyes filled with a hint of anthropomorphic shame and anger, immediately stretched out its paw to pounce on the cat toy in Yichu's hand. How, Yichu, who was initially feeling somewhat uncomfortable, seemed to have found some amusement. He took the cat toy and unceremoniously poked the black netherworld cat's face. Its fur was surprisingly smooth. Meow, the black cat seemed to have suffered some humiliation. It mustered all its strength to tear the audacious cat toy to shreds. Seeing this savage pounce, Yichu immediately retaliated with a counter-strategy. Meow, the black netherworld cat immediately jumped back. How, Yichu chuckled, a knowing look on his face. Zhu Xiuqing, seeing Yichu's expression, couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed for him, taking even dealing with cats so seriously. Her face flushed, her lips pouting, she gave him a helpless glare. After the black netherworld cat was repelled by Yichu, the intelligent cat understood that it couldn't handle this bully alone. Roar, it immediately let out a cute tiger roar, its chubby face trying to gather the 2 white cats. Hearing the call to arms, the 2 plump pink and white cats leaped from Zhu Xiuqing's palm. To get the catnip, the 3 cats huddled together, seemingly discussing some practical strategy. Yichu, being human, naturally watched with arrogance, making no attempt to interrupt. He found the 3 cats gathered before Zhu Xiuqing quite interesting. Soon, they didn't keep Yichu waiting long. The black cat suddenly jumped onto Zhu Xiuqing's head, as if demanding she hold the flag and control the formation. Zhu Xiuqing paused, then glanced at Yichu, seeing the eagerness in his eyes, and accepted the black cat's request. The black cat jumped onto Zhu Xiuqing's head. 2 white cats jumped onto Zhu Xiuqing's palms, forming a triangle, facing Yichu from afar, their eyes fixed on the cat toy they coveted. Come on, Yichu waved the cat toy in his hand, a provocative look on his face. Meow, as the strategist and leader of the 3 cats, the black cat couldn't tolerate Yichu's provocation. It immediately waved its 2 short paws and lunged forward, biting at the cat toy in Yichu's hand, determined to get its way. The black ghost cat made its move. Suddenly, as if on cue, the 2 white cats immediately jumped out of Zhu Xiuqing's palms and pounced on the cat toy in Yichu's hand. But they were different from the black cat. They attacked from the flanks, like wingmen, restraining and suppressing their opponents. Interesting. Too bad, too slow. Yichu held the cat toy, letting the black cat pounce and bite, his expression unchanged. Yichu was even more composed, his eyes showing contentment and ease. Zhu Xiuqing simply let it be. Yichu was her man, and she would accompany him no matter what he wanted to do. The ghostly cat seemed to understand human speech. Unable to withstand Yichu's continued provocation, It seemed to unleash its potential and increased its speed. At the same time, seeing this, her mood indeed lightened considerably. The graceful figure of Zhu Huayin temporarily faded from her mind. Zhu Huqing saw Yichu's relaxed expression and felt quite happy and satisfied. Just as Yichu relaxed slightly, meow, X3 leaped to the left and right respectively. Meow, the loudest meow. The black cat let out a triumphant song. Opening their bottomless, gaping maws, they adorably imitated a tiger's roar, bolstering their strength. Immediately, they lunged at the cat toy in Yichu's hand, scratching and biting at it relentlessly. Oh no, Yichu snapped back to reality, somewhat caught off guard. They seemed to be celebrating their victory. Yichu let out a long breath and leaned back on the sofa. Zhu Huqing immediately tried to catch the three arrogant cats. Never mind, Yichu waved his hand. Zhu Huqing paused, then gave up. Looking at Yichu, who had been playing for almost half an hour before finally calming down, Zhu Huqing gave him a helpless glare. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 510 Exciting Russian Roulette. She then placed the two pink and white cats in her arms and the black cat on her head. She asked Yichu, "Husband, I'm going to give them a bath, would you like to come?" Yichu, who was leaning back on the sofa, seemingly indifferent, immediately looked up at her, pointed directly at Zhu Huqing, and quickly stood up, pulling her into his arms. "Of course. You can wash me too while you're at it," Yichu said playfully. Zhu Huqing blushed slightly and gave Yichu a shy glare, but didn't refuse. She let Yichu take the two white cats she was holding and pet them wantonly. They entered the bathroom. Soon it became crowded. It seemed a fight had broken out. Zhu Huqing directly used her fourth soul skill, Netherworld Shadow Clone. 7 graceful figures, a total of 14 pairs of pink and white cats, surrounded Yichu. But even faster, Yichu made them bow down, submit, and kneel before him. Next, Yichu played a very exciting game with them called Russian Roulette. The thrill of life and death was incredibly exhilarating. Yichu chose a revolver with 7 magazines, and he wanted to gamble with Zhu Huqing to see which magazine he would put the bullet in. After 7 rounds of Russian Roulette, all 7 members of Zhu Huqing's team were shot and killed, meaning they lost the game and couldn't even stand up. When they came out, Zhu Huqing was being carried by Yichu, already somewhat disoriented. But for Yichu, he was a soul master, he could easily take on multiple opponents. This was a transcendent world. Yichu carefully laid the exhausted Zhu Huqing on the bed. Looking at the pale dawn breaking outside the window, he shook his head helplessly. Who told Zhu Huayin to seduce him like that, and Zhu Huqing to be willing to give in? Yichu truly didn't know what would happen if the two sisters were ever together again. Whether he could withstand using his fourth soul skill simultaneously was uncertain, but it seemed he was still quite capable. After a quick tidying up, Yichu climbed into bed. He held Zhu Huqing's soft, delicate body, burying his face in her arms with a childlike air. Zhu Huqing's face flushed a captivating red. She struggled to raise her arms and gently rubbed Yichu's head. The two, who had been at each other's throats just moments before, gradually drifted off to sleep. Meanwhile, Ningrongrong and the others had already started getting up. Until the preliminaries, Yichu had supervised their early morning cultivation of the purple demon eye. Then they would prepare breakfast together. Yilingling was the first to get up, followed by Du Guyan. The two women often visited each other. Yilingling was a woman of few words and had little to say to Du Guyan, but Du Guyan was very talkative with her, often sharing Yichu's preferences with her. He liked to train the women in various places and scenarios, and how long each training session would take to see results. Du Guyan shared all this with Yilingling without any reservations. Yilingling was shocked and embarrassed by this, but she was happy to listen. Soon, Ningrongrong, Xiao Wu, and the others all got up and gathered together. Ningrongrong immediately noticed something was wrong. Where's Zhu Qing? Isn't Zhu Qing usually the first one up? Why is she lagging behind today? Miss Rongrong, have you forgotten? Your husband spent the night in Zhu Qing's room last night, Du Guyan, sitting next to Yilingling, reminded her. A hint of envy and schadenfreude appeared on her face. Maybe it's because the preliminaries are over, and your husband is so happy that he has nowhere to use his energy, so he grabbed Zhu Qing and helped her review her fourth soul skill, HMPH. I knew it, Ningrongrong pouted, immediately understanding, feeling a pang of jealousy. She had been eagerly awaiting her engagement day. Then I'll go wake Xiao Chu. Xiao Wu's hair was disheveled, clearly uncombed. Holding a small comb, she headed towards Zhu Ziyuking's room. Xiao Wu, don't disturb your husband. Let's cultivate first, then I'll comb your hair. Liu Erlong, the eldest sister among the women, had also gotten up and heard Ning Rongrong and the others' conversation. Seeing Xiao Wu about to disturb their sleep, she immediately stopped her. As she spoke, she stepped forward and took the comb from Xiao Wu's hand, her voluptuous body enveloping her. Xiao Wu, let your sister Erlong comb your hair. Her skills are guaranteed to be better than your husband's. So soft, Xiao Wu felt herself lying in a warm and comfortable embrace. No matter how many times she had been with Liu Erlong, Xiao Wu was still amazed by this soft and comfortable feeling. No wonder Xiao Qiu often cheated on her with Erlong. If it were her, she wouldn't be able to let go either. Thinking of this, Xiao Wu snuggled into Liu Erlong's arms and said sweetly, "Then thank you, Sister Erlong, you're welcome." Liu Erlong's beautiful face glistened with tears, completely unconcerned about Xiao Wu's attachment to her. Of Yuchu's many female confidants, Liu Erlong only felt that Xiao Wu was particularly pleasing to the eye. Dean, Jiang Zhu got up and greeted Liu Erlong as usual. Liu Erlong nodded slightly. At home, when Yuchu was around, she rarely showed her fierce side. "Good morning, sisters." Xiao Lan suddenly jumped out of the wooden house. She seemed to be in a very good mood. After greeting everyone, she took out a few candies from her soul tool and started eating them. Bai Chengxiang followed behind Xiao Lan somewhat awkwardly, especially Jiang Zhu's gaze, which made her feel uneasy. She had slept with Xiao Lan last night. They had spent 3 cubic meters of snacks. It was a very pleasant experience. Holding her while sleeping felt like Yuchu was really beside her. Jiang Zhu watched this scene with obvious understanding. No wonder she couldn't find Xiao Lan last night. She had gone to Bai Chengxiang's room. However, Jiang Zhu didn't think much of it. Yu Lingling, Du Yan, and the other girls had long been in the habit of using Xiao Lan as a pillow. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 511. Let me have a few bites of the carrot. Xiao Lan, how come you can never finish all your snacks? Ning Rongrong looked at Xiao Lan, who was stuffing food into her mouth every day, feeling quite helpless and troubled. She was planning to control Xiao Lan when she ran out of snacks. Sister Rongrong, Xiao Lan is the younger sister, and the other sisters buy food for Xiao Lan? Xiao Lan proudly waved the storage soul tool in her hand. She ran to Liu Erlong's side, hugged her arm, and said with a grin, and Sister Erlong even gave Xiao Lan all the prize money she won after each match in the preliminary rounds. Now, Xiao Lan is already a little rich girl. Xiao Lan put her hands on her hips, tilted her swan neck, and looked at Ning Rongrong triumphantly. Puha! Then can Xiao Lan treat Sister Xiao Wu to a month of lavish meals? Xiao Wu couldn't help but laugh, leaving Liu Erlong's embrace, hugging Xiao Lan's soft body, and gently sniffing her. Even Yu Lingling couldn't suppress a smile. Although Xiao Lan's body was growing rapidly, her mind was still that of a child. Hearing Xiao Wu's words, Xiao Lan readily agreed. Of course, no problem. Sister Xiao Wu, just share the carrots brother gave me with Xiao Lan a few times. Xiao Wu's face changed, turning red with displeasure. She immediately pushed Xiao Lan away from her arms and gently poked her forehead. You little brat, I only asked you for some money, and you dare to ask me for someone else. What? Xiao Lan pitifully covered her slightly reddened forehead. Liu Erlong blushed, unsure how to comfort her. If it were her, she wouldn't want to exchange either. Yu Lingling even spat? She had actually thought Xiao Lan was still childish. How ridiculous. The carrots Yichu gave Xiao Wu, were they for a child to eat? The other girls, understanding the culprit behind Xiao Lan's change, cast resentful glances at Ning Rongrong. This extraordinary woman, who had never seen blood but was already a veteran of countless battles and adept at using various techniques, was someone Ning Rongrong understood. Ning Rongrong knew that her image as a little witch had been completely replaced by that of a Fujoshi, a woman obsessed with BL. In the eyes of the other women, this was an unchangeable fact. It was because Ning Rongrong often told them embarrassing, risque jokes, and sometimes when teaching Xiao Lan, she would only offer a few words. But Xiao Lan, to save face, pretended to understand, frequently coming to ask Du Yan, Xiao Wu, and Liu Erlong questions. Even though Liu Erlong was always thoroughly tormented by Yichu, she still felt a chill run down her spine. Gradually, Ning Rongrong gave up struggling and became even more unrestrained. Only in front of Yichu would she restrain herself. showing her ladylike, refined side, of course, only when they weren't doing anything. Therefore, facing the accusing and reproachful gazes of the other women, Ningrongrong remained fearless. She curled her lip and gave a cold snort. HMPH. With your paltry sum of money, you can't even afford a single table at my family's banquet. How dare you call yourself a rich woman? Besides, at the rate you eat, you won't last long. As the eldest daughter of the 7 treasure glazed tile school, Ningrongrong was never afraid of anyone when it came to wealth. Her father was incredibly rich. It's alright. Xiaolan can go to Sister Rongrong's house. Grandpa Sword and Grandpa Bone will dote on Xiaolan. Xiaolan grinned, raising her little hand happily to introduce her sugar daddy to Ningrongrong. And, Uncle Ning, Grandpa Douluo, Crown Prince, Grandpa White Crane. Let's skip Grandpa White Crane, he doesn't eat as well as Xiaolan. Hearing Xiaolan's words, Bai Chengxiang blushed slightly, giving Xiaolan an embarrassed and annoyed glare. PFFT, Jiangzu was also amused by Xiaolan, and softly apologized to Bai Chengxiang beside her. Miss Rongrong, it seems Xiaolan has stolen your home. Duguyan looked at Ningrongrong with schadenfreude. It seemed Xiaolan was now half Ningrongrong. Since Xiaolan didn't need to cultivate, Yichu naturally cultivated while urging the women to cultivate. Xiaolan, all alone, was naturally bored. She could only wander around, easily winning people over with her sweet talk and charming appearance. Ah, Xiaolan. When did you become so cunning? Ningrongrong gritted her teeth. The gluttonous Xiaolan could actually be self-sufficient. Would she be unable to control this little girl in the future? Alright, everyone, let's hurry up and cultivate the purple demon eye. Let my husband and sister Zhu Qing sleep a little longer. Liu Erlong interrupted the women's playfulness at the right time, taking over Yichu's work and urging them to complete their cultivation plan. HMPH. That bastard must have made Zhu Qing use the Netherworld Shadow clone, Ningrongrong said helplessly. Having 6 clones undoubtedly provided Yichu with 18 more paths to freely enter and exit. The women cultivated their purple demon eyes. As the purple aura dissipated and rays of sunlight shone down from the horizon, they were already busy in the kitchen. Working together, they quickly prepared breakfast. After the meal, Yichu still hadn't emerged from his room. The women exchanged bewildered glances. Starluo Empire. Inside the first prince's residence. Outside Davis's bedroom, it was empty, but a tiger's roar echoed from inside. Why did you hurt Zhu Yun? Davis clutched his head, looking like a madman, his blonde hair shimmering with black mist. His roar sounded like a question to someone. His muscular body seemed out of place, his movements uncoordinated. Suddenly, black light flashed in his pupils. His voice changed from anger to calm, cold, and condescending. I said that's nothing but a handful of dust, while we are gods, immortal gods. Those words, filled with majesty, were so arrogant. Yet, coming from his mouth, they were so proper and unquestionable. Enough. You monster, get out of my body, Davis roared, seemingly resisting the black mist. Under his resistance, the black light in his eyes gradually dissipated, only to reappear. This time, however, only his left eye remained black, the other struggled. His noble face was now a mask of 2 extremes, noble and imposing, evil and cold. The left face frowned, showing some impatience with Davis's struggle. But for the sake of the bigger picture, the black mist suddenly spoke up, explaining, I just noticed something was wrong with her 4th spirit ring. Injuring her was just an accident. I don't believe it. The right face was filled with rage. He couldn't understand what could be wrong with a spirit ring. His left cheek, shrouded in black mist, seemed impatient. It had been years since he'd explained himself to such an insignificant. Believe it or not, have a wonderful day, everyone. Chapter 512 The Dark Demon Evil God Tiger has been discovered. The black mist was still vying for control of Davis's body, but its strength had lessened. Davis, I must remind you. Your struggles are of no benefit to our shared body. I promise you I will never harm that woman again. It was also quite helpless. Davis was the vessel through which it reappeared in the world. This body could not be lost. It had to completely replace Davis, using his body to return to its peak, even surpassing it. No. You can't even touch her, Davis roared. I refuse. She will be our shared empress. Without her, we cannot smoothly inherit the crown prince's position. The black mist firmly rejected Davis's conditions. It was well aware of their current situation. Any major move would alert those forces, potentially leading to their encirclement and annihilation. Therefore, they were now abiding by the rules of the game, even though it would be much slower. But the consequences of success would be extremely favorable. If their ascension was illegitimate, how could the soldiers and soul masters obey the new emperor's orders? But according to the rules, they were rightfully and destined for power. Monster. I told you not to touch her. Did you hear me? She's mine, not yours, Davis roared. We're one, the Black Mist said calmly. Davis insisted, roaring, shut up. I'll say it again, don't touch her. The Black Mist remained silent. Fine, but she has to marry. Knock knock. A knock came from the door. Davis's body jerked forward and backward, staggering and nearly falling several times. Clearly, Davis didn't want to open the door. But the person outside wouldn't wait long, guessing the situation inside, and immediately came in. However, the person didn't open the door. Instead, they suddenly appeared in the room, standing next to Davis. At first glance, it seemed to be a skeleton, with long, beautiful black hair growing on a skull, quite terrifying. The person was none other than the Grand Elder of the Douluo Empire, the millennia-old demon with special abilities. Seeing Davis's struggle, a dark light appeared behind the skeleton-like, 2-meter-tall demon Douluo. It was a portal, pitch black as ink, seemingly capable of swallowing light, making it difficult to see clearly. At the same time, 8 black and 1 red spirit rings appeared beneath his feet, a terrifying 9 rings. If Chu, Jin Douluo, or Poseidon were to see this, they would definitely be able to guess the other party's approximate identity. A person with such a spirit ring configuration likely has a deity standing behind them. Without the slightest pause, the demon's skeletal face actually conveyed a sense of piety. The portal opened, seemingly connecting to some mysterious space, where black mists whirled and continuously poured out, drilling into Davis's 7 orifices. Ugh! Ah! Davis let out 2 different roars. 5 spirit rings appeared beneath his feet, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black. Most astonishingly, his martial spirit was gradually turning black, its fur as black as ink, each hair swirling with black mist. Soon, Davis stopped roaring, his eyes stabilizing in black. His entire body was shrouded in black mist. Even when looking at the millennia-old demon, his eyes remained haughty. Demon, what major event has occurred? You actually went to such great lengths to connect to the Sun and Moon continent, allowing me to temporarily regain complete control of my body. He naturally remembered that place shrouded in black mist vividly. For it was the place where he was slain by the angel god. That skeletal demon Douluo, the soul power consumed in opening the connection between the 2 continents was undoubtedly terrifying. His skeleton trembled, as if about to fall apart, his ashen face turned deathly pale, and the portal behind him slowly closed. His exposed teeth opened and closed, unexpectedly calling out a name to Davis. Master, there was indeed some urgent matter, which is why I went to such great lengths to connect to your ascension ground. The portal the demon had just opened was his martial soul. Years ago, his martial soul was nothing more than a broken door, only gaining the favor of the deity before him. After his so-called master transformed his martial soul and granted him some special abilities, he leaped into the ranks of the powerful. Alright, tell me quickly what happened. Davis frowned. He could still vaguely sense Davis's resistance. His power hadn't recovered much, and he hadn't had complete control over this body for very long. Master, our people have discovered traces of the dark demon evil god tiger in the starred out great forest, and I've also summoned evil blood to help. Do you think we should go and take a look? The evil Douluo bowed his head humbly, very respectfully. Dark demon evil god tiger. Davis's eyes narrowed, the black light emanating from them transforming into rainbow. He would never forget. He was able to become that immortal god without the power left behind by the evil god on the dark demon evil god tiger. It was because, by a twist of fate, he obtained the black bead after the dark demon evil god tiger's fall. And he also happened to have a close relationship with the inheritor of the Rakshasa god. With his help, he used the divine power contained within the dark demon god pearl, PS, abbreviated as demon god pearl, to become the foundation for his godhood and attain a divine position. But fate was unkind. Just as they were making great strides to forge a blood god pearl like the demon god pearl using the blood of countless souls, they incurred the wrath of the gods of the upper realm, who were to judge them. He was killed more than 20 years ago when the angel god descended to the mortal realm. However, He was proficient in the way of space and managed to escape with most of his divine soul. Rakshasa, on the other hand, was killed by the combined forces of the angel and the blood giant. The divine inheritance of that god remains missing to this day. Demon, rest for a while, then take me there immediately. I want to see it for myself, Davis said, his hands behind his back. The dark demon god tiger. His special abilities originated from it. Unfortunately, when he obtained the demon god pearl, the pearl was already partially damaged, otherwise, he might have been able to obtain some of the power of time. Now, the dark demon evil god tiger on this continent might be able to make up for his regrets. Yes, master, the demon obeyed and immediately sat down cross-legged. The long-distance connection just now had depleted 99% of his soul power. And the place he marked in the starred-out Great Forest was also far from here, requiring a considerable amount of soul power. In his spare time, Davis examined his body. The white tiger martial soul was very compatible with his demon god pearl, which was why he had sought out Davis. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 513 The Origin of the Dark Demon God Tiger and the White Tiger. Why is the White Tiger martial soul more compatible with his demon god Pearl? Davis quickly understood this after learning a little about the Dark Demon Evil God Tiger. The Dark Demon Evil God Tiger is a special kind of soul beast. Its numbers are even fewer than those of the human-faced demon spider, making it practically extinct. It is also a top-tier soul beast. However, it is precisely because it is so top-tier and difficult to survive in the soul beast world that it is so rare. As for its origin, it is inextricably linked to the white tiger. Legend has it that an evil god descended upon a white tiger, causing it to mutate. The white tiger's original light attribute was transformed into a dark attribute, giving it black wings representing corruption and a scorpion tail like evil god Hook. Thus, the dark demon evil god tiger was born. Because its body was cleansed by divine power and still possesses some residual divine power, the dark demon evil god tiger is extremely powerful. Generally, soul beasts can be human martial souls. But the dark demon evil god tiger is an exception. Because it is not inherently dark, but rather possesses the ultimate evil attribute left behind by the evil god. It's simply beyond the human body's capacity to withstand. Therefore, to this day, no one in the history of Douluo continent has ever possessed the martial soul of the dark demon evil god tiger. This is why Davis is so fond of his current vessel. It means he can better unleash the attribute power from the dark demon evil god Pearl. While the demon sat cross-legged on the ground, Davis wasn't idle either. He jumped onto the table and sat down, taking advantage of the demon's advantage to suppress the real Davis, allowing himself more freedom to move around outside. Suddenly, a white tiger leaped out from behind Davis, its snow-white fur and black stripes exuding a powerful aura. Then, as Davis circulated his soul power, black mist swirled around him, slowly eroding the white tiger. The white tiger let out a painful, terrifying roar. Gradually, the black stripes on its body spread rapidly. As the entire white tiger's body expanded wildly, it turned completely black, without any impurities. Its dark red eyes were filled with a sinister and terrifying aura. Measuring over 8 meters in length, its body bulged with muscles. In its physical form, it likely weighed over 3,000 pounds. The king character on its forehead, though black, possessed a somber, misty black. Unlike the black of its fur, most peculiar was its tail, which began to lengthen and change. Ultimately, compared to ordinary tiger-type spirit beasts, its tail was considerably longer. It stood upright, with numerous nodes appearing, suggesting the tail was composed of countless joints. A dark light flowed, surging towards the tip of the tail. The tip of the upright tail visibly transformed into a giant barb, gleaming with a sinister light. Then, a pair of black wings suddenly sprouted from the tiger's ribs, wings resembling those of a demon. A layer of flesh covered the skeleton, seemingly seeping black blood and emanating an evil black mist. This was none other than the infamous dark demon evil god tiger of the spirit beast world. The black mist enveloped it. Faintly visible are crackling lightning and swirling hurricanes. The dark demon evil god tiger possesses not only evil and special attributes, but also 6 other attributes: time, lightning, wind, and power. If it were a soul beast, even at less than 100,000 years old, it possesses extremely high intelligence, in no way inferior to humans. Furthermore, its body is incredibly tough. It possesses the ultimate evil attribute left behind by the evil god. It also has an extremely domineering nature. Its growth is not through its own cultivation. Cultivation is extremely difficult for it. It can only rapidly increase its strength by devouring the soul power of other soul beasts or human soul masters. Because the dark demon evil god tiger's method of increasing its cultivation is through devouring, not self-cultivation, and is even more thorough and brutal than the human-faced demon spiders, indiscriminately attacking humans and animals, regardless of life or death, it will immediately attract the hordes of other soul beasts to attack it, seeking to destroy it before it becomes powerful enough. This is the key reason why the dark demon evil god tiger, as a top-tier soul beast, is nearly extinct. Half an hour passed. The black dark demon evil god tiger gradually stabilized, pacing back and forth in the air. Davis's face showed a mixture of solemnity and anticipation. He could no longer contain his excitement about the dark demon evil god tiger he had discovered in the starred-out Great Forest. This top-tier soul beast was capable of challenging opponents a level above him. In other words, a 10,000-year-old dark demon evil god tiger might even be able to challenge a 100,000-year-old soul beast. Furthermore, if the dark demon evil god tiger cultivated to its peak, it was highly likely to become an evil god. However, its ability to become a god was only one aspect that Davis was anticipating. If, in the end, the dark demon evil god tiger failed to become a god, then he would take action and use it to complete his demon god pearl, to complete and activate the power of time that he had not yet experienced. Thinking of this, Davis couldn't help but feel excited. The black giant tiger coiled behind him suddenly roared to the sky, its voice resounding through the heavens. But strangely, the evil Douluo sitting cross-legged on the ground beside him remained silent, seemingly without hearing a sound or reacting. Even outside Davis's room, all was quiet. That was because Davis had already sealed off this space within his room. Without his permission, not a single sound could penetrate. As for the demon Douluo, he was also isolated from this space. Davis's mind stirred. Suddenly, a powerful force erupted from the dark demon evil god tiger, and the evil god hook behind it swung violently. Twisted ripples rapidly circled around it. At the same time, the gray aura emanating from its body transformed into gray light, instantly enveloping the entire room. This was Davis's domain. "Master, I have recovered most of my soul power, and we can set off now." The demon Douluo looked at Davis. As a servant, he naturally understood Davis's joy. Once his soul power was sufficient to transport them to the starred-out Great Forest, he immediately stood up to take Davis with him. "In that case, let's go," Davis said calmly. He stood up abruptly, and the dark demon tiger, which had been striding through the void, leaped into his body. The gray-white light in the room subsided, and everything returned to calm. The eighth spirit ring beneath the demon Douluo's feet flickered. The dark portal behind him slowly opened, revealing a deep, dark forest filled with towering trees. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 514 Another self of the same origin. "Master, please," the demon Douluo bowed respectfully, pointing to the portal formed by his martial soul. Davis nodded slightly, taking the first step and entering. With a single stride, a foot clad in a long boot suddenly emerged from the void in the starred-out Great Forest on the other side, followed by Davis's entire body. The demon Douluo followed closely behind, stepping out from the void. Inside the room, the portal vanished into thin air. Davis frowned. He actually sensed a shared aura lingering around him. This feeling was strange, as if another version of himself was hiding in the surrounding forest. "Master," the demon Douluo noticed Davis's unusual behavior and immediately looked at him with concern and inquiry. "It's all right," Davis raised his hand, suppressing the strange feeling in his heart. Only then did he look around. This seemed to be a camp. It was nearing noon, and boilers had already been set up and fires were being lit for cooking. The appearance of the demon Douluo quickly alerted the others nearby. Whoosh! The first to arrive was the bloodthirsty Douluo, with long, blood-red hair. At the same time, he was carrying Tang San. "Bloodthirsty Douluo greets your excellency." The bloodthirsty Douluo put Tang San down and respectfully bowed to Davis. Davis nodded slightly, looking at Tang San, and asked the bloodthirsty Douluo, "Is this your choice?" "Yes, your excellency." "His name is Tang San," and he possesses an extremely rare twin martial soul. Although his first martial soul is blue-silver grass, it has the bloodline of a 100,000-year-old blue-silver emperor. His second martial soul is the Clear Sky Heimer from the Clear Sky sect, one of the 3 upper sects. The bloodthirsty Douluo's respect was no less than that of the demon Douluo. This person, along with Rakshasa from before, was their highest faith. Very good. Truly blessed by heaven, Davis looked at Tang San in surprise. He understood the bloodthirsty Douluo's intentions. It was a buy one get one free deal with the Clear Sky sect. This power was invaluable to them as well. Seeing this, Tang San, though curious about their identities and not understanding their conversation, didn't ask further. Even his godfather, a level 98 expert, had to bow. How could he dare hesitate? He quickly tried to follow. But Davis raised his hand, stopping him, saying, "You don't need to bow." Tang San looked at him, puzzled, then glanced at Evil Blood Douluo. But Evil Blood, as his godfather, didn't explain. Instead, Davis smiled meaningfully. "Curious? You'll become like me." "No, you can't even be called human anymore." Davis's words left Tang San bewildered. What did he mean by can't be called human anymore? What else could he be but human? Would he become like this person, who looked somewhat like Daimyo? Tang San's mind was filled with questions. He had originally come to the starred-out Great Forest with Evil Blood to hunt souls, but on the way, they encountered several tidal Douluos chasing a black tiger. Immediately, Evil Blood Douluo pulled him along and chased after them. Tang San didn't understand where this group of people came from, or why there were so many unknown tidal Douluos on the continent. Why were they trying to capture the dark demon evil god tiger? Yes, Tang San recognized a large black tiger. So many questions. But in this situation, no one would explain anything to him. Swish. Soon, 4 tidal Douluos arrived from all directions, bowing to Davis. How is Evil Blood doing? As Davis's right-hand man, Evil Blood Douluo held a position second only to one person, and his cultivation was unparalleled. But facing Evil Blood, he dared not be arrogant or rely on his seniority. He knew very well how he had achieved his level 99 cultivation. It was all thanks to enlightenment. Even his spirit rings were all upgraded after becoming a servant of a god. Unlike Evil Blood Douluo, whose spirit rings and strength were all earned through fighting his way up from the bottom. The demon Douluo's talent was far inferior to that of the Evil Blood. The dark demon evil god tiger has been forced into this area by us. As long as we slowly tighten the encirclement, we should be able to capture it soon, the Evil Blood Douluo said calmly. At this moment, Davis suddenly spoke up. Now, start tightening the encirclement immediately. Leave the capture to me. Maybe I can talk to it. In that case, let's do it now, the demon Douluo said to the Evil Blood without any hesitation. No problem, the Evil Blood nodded. The other 4 tidal Douluos immediately dispersed and returned to their positions to begin tightening the encirclement. It was close to noon. Davis and the others were busy as bees, while Yichu is still sleeping with a naked Zuzuking in his arms. In the courtyard of Liu Erlong at Blue Tyrant Academy, Xiao Wu, Bai Chengxiang, and the other girls, who had been training all morning, had begun preparing lunch. Jiang Zhu, who was picking vegetables, heard the noise. Looking up towards Zhu Zhuking's room, Yichu saw the door open, and Zhu Zhuking, her face flushed and her skin radiant, was nestled in his arms, head bowed. Yichu, refreshed, embraced Zhu Zhuking and walked towards the courtyard. Yichu, you're awake, Jiang Zhu greeted softly. Looking at Zhu Zhuking's alluring and captivating eyes, she couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. Yes, Jiang Zhu, good morning. Yichu nodded slightly and smiled at the pink-haired girl. Jiang Zhu blushed and lowered her head, completely oblivious to the oddity of Yichu's words, and softly replied, yes, good morning. Jiang Zhu's voice caused all the women to turn to look at Yichu. Even Liu Erlong, who was chopping vegetables in the kitchen, and Xiao Lan, who was sneaking a bite, peeked out. Seeing Zhu Zhuking, whose legs seemed weak and whose face was glowing, Ning Rongrong immediately became displeased. Good morning. What's early? You stinky thing. You're sleeping soundly while we're cultivating. That's right, Xiao Chu, you actually stayed with Zhu Qing for so long. Xiao Wu wants some too. Xiao Wu was equally eager. If she could, she wouldn't even want to be separated from Yichu for a moment. Husband, then Yan Yan wants some too. Du Yan even twisted her waist and pressed herself against Yichu's side, teasing him. At the same time, looking at Zhu Qing in his arms, She asked curiously, Sister Zhu Qing, what exactly is 7 times the happiness? Are you always in a happy state? Even when your husband is dealing with your clone, Yan Yan? You shut up. Zhu Qing's earlobes bled, and she was extremely embarrassed. If she hadn't been really hungry, she wouldn't have come out at this time. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 515 The various skills and tricks of each woman. Ahem. Hearing Du Yuyan's question about Zhu Xiuqing, Yichu couldn't help but cough twice. When he dealt with Zhu Xiuqing's clone, he didn't know if Zhu Xiuqing's main body reacted, but he felt quite good. However, when it was finally his turn to deal with the main body, Zhu Xiuqing was clearly unsteady on her feet, sweat and water constantly dripping from her legs onto the bathroom floor. When dealing with her, Yichu easily broke through Zhu Xiuqing's defenses, and she quickly reaped the rewards. It was like the flood washing away the Dragon King. It seemed that while dealing with Zhu Xiuqing's clone, his main body must have gained something. However, considering Zhu Xiuqing's shyness, Yichu naturally wouldn't say anything at this time. He put his arm around Du Yuyan's waist. Alright, Yan Yan, stop teasing Xiuqing, she's still a little tired. Oh, my husband. Du Yuyan leaned softly against Yichu's chest, her voice charming and seductive, and gave Yichu a sidelong glance. Since you knew she was tired, why did you keep going for so long? You weren't worried when you were having fun, but now you're worried. Yan Yan. Yichu opened his mouth, looking somewhat embarrassed at Du Yuyan and Zhu Xiuqing in his arms. No, it's not my fault, husband, it was my own choice. Zhu Xiuqing buried her head in Yichu's arms, her voice muffled as she explained to him. Oh. Xiuqing said before that the stinky guy controlled you with his martial soul. I didn't expect it was you who was greedy, Ningrongrong exclaimed. No, this time it was me. But before, I didn't want to, so Yichu threatened me with a stick and bewitched me with his martial soul, Zhu Xiuqing hurriedly explained, her face flushed. Situations like yesterday were ultimately rare, all because of Zhu Huayan's teasing. She didn't want to see Yichu suffer, and she didn't want Yichu to lie with her, but her heart was with Zhu Huayan. She had no choice but to use her strongest soul skill, Netherworld Shadow Clone, to counter Yichu's offensive. Completely dismantle his fighting spirit and let him stay by your side. Zhu Xiuqing's words made Xiao Wu, Yi Lingling, and the other girls blush. Especially Liu Erlong. She was the most qualified to speak about Yichu's threats and charms. Sometimes, having or not having something doesn't cause any trouble. But being stuck in the middle is the most deadly and agonizing time. Yichu was very good at controlling himself. The beautiful young woman Liu Erlong knew Yichu's preferences very well. When he raised his hand to slap her buttocks, Liu Erlong understood that she had to change her tactics. But human strength has its limits. She couldn't defeat Yichu, while Yichu is still full of energy in front of her, a soul Douluo. It was at this time that if she didn't cooperate, she would be threatened by Yichu or passively bewitched by his Sharingan, becoming at his beck and call. However, she didn't dislike Yichu's actions. It showed that he was very attached to her, and he was still very considerate. When he saw her fall asleep, he would cover her with a blanket and give her a relaxing massage. Upon hearing Zhu Xiuqing's explanation, Du Yuyan immediately began to apologize. She said sweetly, husband, it turns out Yan Yan misunderstood you. To express my apology, Yan Yan will make it up to you tonight, how about it? All night long, you stinky woman, you're definitely doing this on purpose. Ningrongrong immediately scolded Du Yuyan. This wasn't compensation for Yichu at all, it was clearly the snake spirit Du Yuyan wanting to reward her. This young lady disagrees. This stinky fellow slept in for so long, he should be punished. I'm very good at this, let me punish him for one night. Ningrongrong jogged forward and grabbed Yichu's hand from Du Yuyan's waist. A hint of shyness flashed in her eyes, and her cheeks flushed. Her punishments were real, either she would bite Yichu to death, or she would stomp on him to death. These were her two most common forms of torture. Miss Rongrong, don't give me that. Your punishment is clearly just to please yourself, Du Yuyan retorted. Xiao Wu skipped and hopped towards Yichu. She said sweetly, Rongrong, you're definitely not being honest either. Let Sister Xiao Wu do it. Sister Xiao Wu will correct Xiao Chu's bad habits through practice. Hearing this, Yichu rolled his eyes helplessly. This little rascal had actually become so eloquent. Correcting him through practice? Would she even be able to speak then? Amidst the girl's argument, Bai Chengxiang mustered her courage and raised her hand. I think Yichu doesn't need any compensation or punishment. He led us to first place in the preliminaries, so he should be rewarded. I've already prepared the prize. It's in my room. Yichu can just come and get it tonight after I've washed up. As soon as she finished speaking, Xiao Wu and the other girls, who were arguing, immediately looked at Bai Chengxiang. Bai Chengxiang's face immediately showed infinite shyness. These were words she had mustered a lot of courage to say. Yichu's evenings are basically monopolized by her sisters Liu Erlong, Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong, Zhu Zhuqing, and Du Guyan. She herself wants to try and win them over. After all, Ning Rongrong hasn't even slept with Yichu yet, and she can spend the night with him. Why can't she? What Ning Rongrong can do, she can do too. In this courtyard, she has already learned quite a bit through observation and interaction. She's not just all talk, she's truly skilled. Xiao Lan is nice, but she's only a substitute when there's no other way. She's nothing compared to Yichu himself. Xiangxiang, is the gift you prepared proper? Yi Lingling asked Bai Chengxiang softly, her face flushed. Of course it's proper, Bai Chengxiang stammered. The gift she prepared was definitely proper. Du Guyan looked at Bai Chengxiang in astonishment. Xiangxiang, how did you become so naughty? Alright, Xiao Wu, wrong, Yan, you girls, stop fooling around. Yichu gave the three girls a bear hug, pulling them into his arms. Although jealousy can be amusing at times, he was getting impatient as it escalated. He was afraid something might happen. Xiao Chu, how about taking a break this month? Xiao Wu, squeezed between Ning Rongrong and Du Guyan, pouted her red lips at Yichu. She hadn't gone out alone with Yichu in a long time. Yes, Ning Rongrong nodded repeatedly. She also longed for some time alone with Yichu. No, Yichu refused firmly. Davis and Tang Sen, those two oddballs, would be participating in the final competition. He couldn't slack off during this time. He needed to improve himself and the girls. I can't neglect my daily cultivation. Yichu looked at the girls' gazes, which seemed somewhat disappointed. His heart softened. All right then, we can rest for a few days. Hearing Yichu's words, Xiao Wu and Ning Rongrong's eyes lit up. But Du Guyan frowned slightly. She snuggled closer to Yichu, hugging his neck. Husband, a few days of rest is fine. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 516 Yichu's distribution problem this month. Ugh! You stinky woman, what are you saying? Ning Rongrong was the first to protest. Even Xiao Wu was unhappy. Yan, why don't you want to rest? Don't you want to spend more time with Xiao Chu? Yeah, it's so much better when we're resting. Xiao Lan won't be bored if everyone doesn't cultivate. Xiao Lan also pouted. She felt a little lonely when Yichu and the others were cultivating. Miss Rongrong, Sister Xiao Wu, what you want is for your husband to spend time with you alone. He definitely has to take care of all the sisters, and that would waste too much time. Du Guyan rolled her eyes and explained. Yan is right, now is not the right time. I'm sorry, Yichu had already experienced the troubles of having too many women. Being a master of time management is also very difficult, and he couldn't please everyone. Husband, there's no need to apologize. We all volunteered. Du Guyan chuckled and took a small sip from Yichu's lips. Yichu was touched. Ning Rongrong pouted. Seeing how happily Du Guyan was making Yichu happy, she wouldn't bother Du Guyan, ruin this warm moment, or upset Yichu. Then let's listen to Yan and not rest. Xiao Wu gently hugged Yichu, nuzzling his strong chest. They had plenty of time ahead of them. PFFT, not resting doesn't mean my husband can't spend time with us alone. Du Guyan suddenly laughed, gently pushing Yichu away. Yichu understood and released the three beautiful girls in his arms. Hey, what are you trying to say? Ning Rongrong looked at the mysterious Du Guyan with curious eyes. Yichu seemed to understand. Du Guyan explained, we can continue our cultivation as usual, but we can arrange our time more tightly. During our free time, my husband can spend time with only one of us, right? If that's not enough, 2 days each. As she spoke, Du Guyan raised her hand, holding up 2 fingers, happily sharing her idea with her sisters. That's indeed a good idea. Husband, you can continue your cultivation as usual, but in your spare time, you can accompany one of us to relax. Liu Erlong agreed with a smile. Although this idea wasn't very clever, it could be done without interfering with their cultivation. It would give them some satisfaction, as they hadn't had time alone with their husband in a long time. HMPH. I didn't expect you, You stinky woman, to be good at more than just flirting. Ning Rongrong's eyes lit up slightly, and she mentally gave the idea a huge thumbs up. Great. This is a good idea. I want Xiao Chu to go with me to Biao Village, Nodding City, and the Lake of Life. Xiao Wu happily narrowed her round, large, crimson eyes. She had even already thought about where Yichu would take her, 3 very meaningful places. Xiao Lan's voice followed closely behind. Then Xiao Lan wants brother to take me to the blue-silver forest. Zhu Zhuking frowned, but quickly relaxed. Although she didn't have any particular destination in mind, she was already very happy and content as long as she was with Yichu. As for Yilingling, she wanted Yichu to accompany her home, then go shopping, and ideally, take her to Biao Village as well. Okay, Bai Chengxiang agreed. She could have Yichu take her to the Soul Palace to visit her grandfather, and then they could go somewhere else together. As for Jiangzhu, she lowered her head somewhat disappointed. Her position here was quite awkward. It seemed she could only obediently cultivate diligently in this academy. In the preliminary rounds, she and Yilingling had played almost no role, seemingly just there to make up the numbers. She didn't want Yichu and the others to get hurt. But she hoped that if they were injured, she wouldn't be a burden and could provide them with good help. Watching them reach the peak from afar would be enough for her. Since everyone agrees, let's do it this way. Let's take care of lunch first. Zhuking and I are starving. Yichu sat down at the table, hugged Xiao Lan, who had sneaked over from the kitchen after eating, and placed her on his lap. Husband, just wait a moment. Liu Erlong smiled gently, gesturing to Jiangzhu to pour Yichu a cup of warm tea. Zhu Zhuking, with her empty belly, sat beside Yichu, leaning on his shoulder and waiting quietly. Sister Zhuking, are you exhausted? Is brother very strong? Xiao Lan, sitting in Yichu's lap, was just like Ning Rongrong, shifting her pert bottom and rubbing against him, clearly aroused. Zhu Zhuking blushed at Xiao Lan's question, completely at a loss for words, and simply closed her eyes and pretended to sleep. Yichu helplessly rubbed Xiao Lan's head. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask, brother. Xiao Lan isn't a child anymore, you know? Xiao Lan is already much older than Sister Rongrong. Xiao Lan proudly held her head high. Not far away came Ning Rongrong's angry shouts. Xiao Lan, you're getting more and more outrageous. Believe me or not, I'll teach you a lesson later. HMPH. Xiao Lan gave a mischievous hum. Brother, don't worry, Sister Rongrong can't beat Xiao Lan. Why would I worry about you? Yichu rolled his eyes helplessly. This girl was indeed getting more and more unruly. Sensing the restraints of the ditch, Yichu couldn't help but pick up the restless Xiao Lan, wanting to move her away. But Xiao Lan refused, even insisting on sitting in Yichu's lap while eating. On the other side, in the mixed zone of the starred-out Great Forest, deeper inside, Davis and the demon Douluo, among others, had already surrounded the dark demon evil god tiger. At this moment, this dark demon evil god tiger was far from possessing the 60,000 years of cultivation that Tang San had when he encountered it in the original story. Tang San stood behind the evil blood Douluo, observing this dark demon evil god tiger that appeared in the book at close range. Just one glance was enough for Tang San to sense its evil. It was a giant tiger, entirely black without a single blemish, its red eyes filled with a sinister aura. Over 6 meters long, its muscles bulged, and the king character on its forehead was also black, but unlike the black of its fur, it was a somber, misty black. In Tang San's eyes, the most peculiar feature was its tail. Compared to ordinary tiger-type spirit beasts, its tail was much longer, stood upright, and was composed of countless joints, with a huge barb at the very tip, gleaming with a chilling light. Tang San was certain it contained a terrifying poison. Little San, step back a bit, don't get caught in the crossfire. The evil blood Douluo, watching the dark demon evil god tiger gliding through the air on its black wings, gently nudged Tang San. Tang San, you can stand next to me, you're qualified. Davis, who was intently watching the dark demon evil god tiger, smiled and waved to Tang San. Have a pleasant life. Chapter 517. Helping the dark demon evil god tiger become stronger. Hearing Davis's words, Tang San was taken aback. He looked up at his adoptive father and shook his head slightly. Thank you for your kindness, sir. I appreciate it, haha. You actually call me sir. Davis laughed, looking at Tang San with a strange expression, then shook his head mockingly. Fine, I hope you won't hold a grudge. Hold a grudge? Davis's words left Tang San confused. What did he mean? Without exchanging further words with Tang San, Davis immediately ordered the demon Douluo and the other title Douluos, "You just need to surround it and prevent it from escaping. Leave the rest to me." "Yes, sir." The evil blood Douluo, the demon Douluo, and the other 4 title Douluos agreed in unison. They immediately activated their martial souls and revealed their soul rings. Looking at the 9 soul rings wrapped around their hands, Tang San's eyes showed a hint of envy. Then, an endless fighting spirit rose within him. He was now undoubtedly the youngest Soul King in the records of the entire continent, a Soul King at the age of 14. Roar! Suddenly, Tang San, immersed in his beautiful fantasy, heard a terrifying tiger's roar. He saw a white tiger leap out from Davis not far away. Tang San immediately frowned. He was all too familiar with that spirit. It was the evil-eyed white tiger spirit of Daimyo Bei, with whom he had an improper relationship. Could it be that this person, revered as master by the evil blood Douluo and so many title Douluos, had a significant connection with Daimyo Bei? But soon, Tang San was astonished to discover that the spirit summoned by Davis was vastly different from Daimyo Bei's. A swirling black mist obscured Tang San's vision. Even with his purple demon eye, Tang San couldn't see through the black mist. Davis, the evil blood Douluo, the demon Douluo, and others remained mysterious to Tang San, always shrouded in a black mist, making them incomprehensible to him. Roar! Another tiger's roar rang out. Roar! The dark demon evil god tiger, surrounded by 6 title Douluos, suddenly roared as well. This is the dark demon evil god tiger martial soul. How is this possible? Tang San's eyes widened. Watching the black mist dissipate, the original white tiger vanished, replaced by a dark demon evil god tiger identical to those in the encirclement. He remembered his teacher had taught him that any spirit beast in this world could potentially become a human spirit master's martial soul, except for the dark demon evil god tiger. But the scene before him forced Tang San to believe that he had witnessed it with his own eyes. While his disdain for Yu Zhigang grew, he was also quite clear-headed. Perhaps Yu Zhigang hadn't taught him wrong. After all, that's how it was written in the book, so he couldn't be blamed. Moreover, Davis and the evil blood Douluo group were simply too mysterious. They could even revive someone as dead as himself, so why couldn't they obtain the dark demon evil god tiger martial soul? Before Tang San could ponder further, the Davis before him transformed into wisps of black mist, merging into his martial soul. The illusory dark demon evil god tiger gradually solidified. To Tang San's astonishment, it crashed to the ground. Boom! The dark demon evil god tiger, transformed from Davis, smashed into the ground, creating 4 large craters. Its 8-meter-long body, with a flap of its black wings, immediately flew towards the surrounded dark demon evil god tiger. Roar! The roar of the surrounded dark demon evil god tiger no longer carried ferocious killing intent. Instead, it carried a hint of confusion and familiarity. It could sense the close connection between itself and its kind. The 2 dark demon evil god tigers, apart from their different sizes, were like mirror images. Davis felt reassured. It seemed that his guess was correct. This dark demon evil god tiger shared the same feeling as him. Their origins were too similar. Even twin brothers wouldn't have this feeling. Davis felt there might be some other connection between him and the dark demon evil god tiger. Roar! Davis roared, requesting to communicate with the dark demon evil god tiger. Roar! The dark demon evil god tiger responded. Its intelligence was no less than a human's. It was well aware of its current situation. Without cooperation, it would certainly not be a match for the 6 title Douluos. Moreover, 2 of them were particularly terrifying. The evil blood Douluo and the others watched the human and beast communicating with some curiosity. "You all step back," Davis's voice suddenly rang out. This was the dark demon evil god tiger's condition, which it easily understood. This human who could transform into its own appearance was the leader of this group. The evil blood Douluo and the others remained silent and retreated directly. Roar! The dark demon evil god tiger's roars continued. Tang San watched this scene with bewilderment. Even if he wanted to know what they were talking about, he was powerless to do so. After all, he didn't understand animal language. The undulating roars of the tiger sent chills down the spines of the other spirit beasts surrounding the forest. Even though the dark demon evil god tiger was far from reaching its 60,000-year cultivation level as it appeared in the original story, it already possessed 50,000 years of cultivation. With its terrifying attribute power, fighting beyond its level was incredibly easy. Now that 100,000-year spirit beasts were rarely seen, few spirit beasts could rival it. A quarter of an hour passed before the tiger's roars gradually subsided. Davis, who had been lying on the ground in the form of the dark demon evil god tiger, suddenly slowly returned to human form. Tang San stared in astonishment at this scene. Evil blood Douluo was equally surprised. Davis and the dark demon evil god tiger seemed like friends. Davis tugged at its front paw and shook it. Pleasant cooperation. This strange scene left everyone somewhat bewildered. Davis pointed to the dark demon evil god tiger beside him and instructed, "Alright, from now on, you don't need to target it anymore. It has agreed to cooperate with us, or rather, it has agreed to join us." Tang San felt he had learned something new. This dark demon evil god tiger wants to join the human forces. "Master, I wonder if it has made any conditions," the demon Douluo bowed and asked. "Haha, of course it has conditions, but that's what we should do," Davis laughed heartily. "From now on, the personnel originally responsible for the dark demon evil god tiger will cooperate with it to hunt soul beasts in the starred-out Great Forest." Evil Blood quickly grasped the key point. "Does the master mean we should help this dark demon evil god tiger grow?" "That's right," Davis nodded seriously. "Have a pleasant life, everyone." Chapter 518 The plan to divide up Yichu. Since it has joined us, and it has great potential, nurturing it is what we should do. Davis had a hint of anticipation in his eyes. Whether this dark demon evil god tiger could cultivate to its so-called peak and become an evil god was irrelevant to him. If it succeeded, they would have a powerful ally. If not, he would have to eliminate and devour the dark demon evil god tiger himself. He would see if this shared origin could completely repair his demon god pearl, allowing him to gain the power of time. If he could grasp even a sliver of time, his strength would be greatly enhanced. Roar. At this moment, the dark demon evil god tiger suddenly let out a roar, seemingly responding to Davis's words. "Haha, don't worry, once you grow to a certain level, I can have those two 100,000-year-old soul beasts in the core area, the azure bull python and the titan giant ape, help you devour them." Davis chuckled, as if 100,000-year-old soul beasts were nothing more than ants in his eyes. Roar. The dark demon evil god tiger roared happily. It was very vengeful. It would never forget the pain of being poked by that big monkey with its iron rod a while back. It was enough to make its dark face turn yellow. Tang San stared blankly at this scene. He had absolutely no right to speak. "My lord, now that things here are settled, I'll take Xiao-san to hunt souls again." The evil blood Douluo bowed to Davis and asked for permission. Then go." Davis casually waved his hand, agreeing to the request immediately. Turning to look at Tang San, he seemed to see a blood-red star. "Tang San, I look forward to your growth." Far away in Havendao City, Yichu was completely unaware of Tang San's ordeal, nor did he know that the dark demon evil god tiger had mingled with the evil soul masters and even tried to devour his two wild brothers-in-law. Now, after finishing his meal with the women, Yichu left Blue Tyrant Academy again. He didn't intend to participate in their ranking. Anyway, he knew about his other women. Zhu Zhuking and Liu Erlong knew that they would probably schedule a few days for Jinringsu and Tang Yuhu. He was going to visit Jinringsu and Tang Yuhu now. Now that the Soul Master competition preliminaries were over, he naturally had to report to them when he had time. Inside Lanba Academy, the girls were busily scheduling their time during their afternoon nap. There was basically nothing to argue about. Du Guyan took out paper and pen and laid them out on the table. "Let's count the number of people now, okay? Let's start with Xiao Lan." Xiao Lan raised her little hand and looked at Liu Erlong, who had already started counting the number of people, with a smile. "Then you start." Xiao Lan, Xiao Wu, Zhu Qing, Xiang, Ling Ling, Yan Yan, Rong Rong, and myself. There are 8 people in total. Liu Erlong called out the names one by one, and then added some details. "And then there's Zook. That makes 9. With 9 of us, wouldn't each of us have 3 days? Xiao clapped her hands happily. 3 whole days of free time for Yichu to go out and play alone. She could visit the 3 places she most wanted to go, spending a day at each. Jiangsu sat beside them, feeling somewhat out of place among the other women. Liu Erlong glanced at Jiangsu, her eyes filled with disappointment, and was about to speak when Zhu Zhuking raised her hand and said, "I think we should add 1 more. No, 2 more. Zhu Zhuking thought of Jinringsu and her troublesome older sister. Since she had already decided to turn a blind eye, it was important to grant her wish, give her a little reward, and let her remember her kindness. 2. Zhuking, where did you get 2 from? Ning Rongrong looked at Zhu Zhuking strangely. Rongrong. I'm sorry, I can't say. Zhu Zhuking silently lowered her head. Yichu had told her not to mention Jinring Su, and she was too embarrassed to mention Zhu Zuoyan. After all, she was her older sister. If Ning Rongrong and the others knew that she had brought Zhu Zuoyan into this family, they would probably start teasing her again. HMPH. That scoundrel is still keeping a mistress outside, Ning Rongrong snorted angrily. With so many beautiful women at home, Yichu still managed to cheat on her. It was truly despicable. Then it'll be 11, Du Yuyan picked up her pen, about to write. Liu Erlong corrected the number again. It should be 13, huh? Where did 2 more come from? Erlong, Bai Chengxiang looked at her strangely. Yichu was actually so dishonest. Fortunately, she had been brought home by Yichu and had already established a good relationship with her sisters beforehand. Liu Erlong squinted at Jiangsu beside him, and with a smile, he said to Jiangsu's shy gaze, of course it's Jiangsu. I plan to let her taste the bitterness of love too, Dean. I don't, Jiangsu stammered, her face flushed as she was about to refuse, but she couldn't bring herself to say it. This was indeed a good opportunity, while Yichu was away, to be honest with a woman and face the issue directly. She had also come to understand this during this time. Sometimes, even if Yichu only had a vague affection for a woman, with the help of Xiao and the other girls, he would quickly accept her. Just like Bai Chengxiang and Yu Lingling. If it weren't for the help of her other sisters, she would probably be in a similar situation now. Therefore, whether Xiao and the others approved of her feelings was very important to Jiangsu. Sister Jiangsu, Xiaolin looked at Jiangsu in surprise, then graciously raised her little hand. Okay. Xiaolin has no objections. Xiao and the others looked at the pink-haired Jiangsu and smiled kindly at her. Sister Erlong, what about the other one? Yi Lingling looked at Liu Erlong, puzzled. She had absolutely no problem with Jiangsu. She wasn't much of a talker, and while she could be jealous, it was only when Yichu ignored her. Yet, Sister Erlong, who's the other one? Ning Rongrong asked Liu Erlong. Jiangsu, seeing that the other women were no longer bothered by her joining the scheme to divide Yichu, finally felt relieved. She wasn't interested in the other person. She was already thinking about where Yichu should take her. As for whether Yichu would refuse, Jiangsu hadn't even considered it. She knew Yichu was a very gentle person. Yichu definitely wouldn't refuse her. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 519. All of Mom's friends have been arrested. Liu Erlong smiled slightly. Actually, the other person's situation is similar to mine. Some of you might have even heard of her. Liu Erlong didn't want to hide anything about Tang Yuho's existence. After all, judging from their experiences, Ning Rongrong and Xiao Wu were the newcomers. Their relationship with Yichu had already been established. Even if they objected, it wouldn't matter. Their only concern was probably that they were much older than these girls. But after experiencing it, Liu Erlong found that this wouldn't be a disadvantage for them, but rather an advantage. Just like Yichu often joked, older women are more considerate. They won't complain when you pat their buttocks, but will cooperate and change positions. Their mature bodies can make Yichu unable to resist. We've heard of her. Xiao Wu pointed to herself curiously. Xiao Wu, you definitely haven't heard of her. You don't even know many people. Ning Rongrong tugged at Xiao Wu's scorpion braid, causing Xiao Wu to let out a cute shout. Rongrong, don't pull Xiao's hair. Zhu Zhuking also looked at Liu Erlong curiously, swatting away Ning Rongrong's hand that was about to provoke a fight and attack her delicate body. She asked, Sister Erlong, who is that sister you mentioned who is in a similar situation to you? Has she already reunited with her husband? The other women nodded at Zhu Zhuking's question, indicating that they were also very curious. They already knew why Liu Erlong was involved with Yichu, and why she was so docile in front of him despite her fiery temper. Although it was hard to believe, Liu Erlong would not lie to them. For the sake of her husband, she had no need to lie. Actually, that sister is Princess Zuke's teacher. The master of Yuxun, Tang Yuhua. Liu Erlong didn't keep them in suspense any longer and told them Tang Yuhua's name directly. The master of Yuxun. Du Yuyan's eyes flashed with surprise. Having spent so many years in Xiandao City, Du Yuyan naturally knew about Yuxun, The place that taught aristocratic etiquette. What? Aunt Tang, Yi Lingling, usually quiet, widened her eyes in surprise. She hadn't expected that her mother's two best friends were actually her husband's women. All of her mother's friends were now on Yi Chu's couch. Ning Rongrong, however, noticed something quite different. Sister Tang and Princess Zuke actually have a master-disciple relationship. That jerk, that's really going too far. Hearing Ning Rongrong's words, the other girls finally reacted, secretly spitting a few curses. Xiao Lan, however, suddenly raised her hand and asked, then, is Sister Jiangzu considered Sister Erlong's student? Upon hearing this, both Jiangzu and Liu Erlong blushed with embarrassment. Faced with the strange, teasing gazes of the other girls, the two were extremely ashamed. Only Zhu Ziuqing dared not laugh at them. After all, she had already brought her sister into her extended family. If they found out now, they would laugh at her for a long time. Alright, the number is settled, 13 in total, Du Yuyan said softly. Faced with this number, the women fell silent. If they really took turns, they wouldn't have a chance to be alone with Yi Chu for half a month. However, they had no choice. Not only did they not want to leave Yi Chu, but they also got along very well with their sisters. Even Ning Rongrong and Du Yuyan only bickered. Privately, they often exchanged experiences of serving Yi Chu. Xiao Wu said wistfully, unconsciously. Xiao Chu has so many women already. Are there some we don't know about? HMPH. It must be Zhu Qingjia and those two names from earlier, they didn't tell us who they are, Ning Rongrong snorted coldly. Du Yuyan patted Ning Rongrong's shoulder. Haha. Miss Rongrong, try not to be so jealous. Your husband is still young and so outstanding, there will probably be many more girls chasing after him in the future. Alright, then we'll each have 2 days, and the rest of the time is up to your husband to arrange. Liu Erlong didn't say anything more. As far as she knew, Bi Bidong was one of them. However, she hadn't shown herself yet, and Liu Erlong wasn't willing to include her. The women had divided up Yi Chu's time for the month. Yi Chu, having already visited Tang Yuhua, was now enjoying fragrant tea in the back garden with Jinring Su, who appeared to be Zhu King. Why are you here to see me at this time? Zhu King asked, looking at Yi Chu with suspicion. Yi Chu waved his hand and smiled. Of course, I've come to discuss changing our meeting time, so as not to upset you, HMPH. The preliminary rounds are already over, aren't they? What else do you need to do? Zhu King snorted, picked up the teapot, and poured tea for Yi Chu. Nothing special, it's just that Rongrong and the others have other plans, so I came to ask you. Yi Chu took a sip and explained his purpose. What plan? Well, how should I put it? For the next month, pick 2 days when you're free. As long as I'm not cultivating, I'll spend time with you alone. Hearing Yi Chu's words, Zhu King's slightly furrowed brows relaxed, and her eyes brightened slightly. Yi Chu continued, even when it's eating, sleeping, or bathing, I can keep you company, you bastard. What are you thinking? Stop dreaming. Bathing? Why don't you just die? Zhu King's face flushed red as she angrily rebuked Yi Chu. Yi Chu chuckled and explained, I was just giving you a few examples. Since you don't want to, I'll just leave then. Leave? Zhu King raised an eyebrow. You're not allowed to leave. Even when I'm bathing, my time is mine. You have to stand outside and be my clothes hanger, handing me my clothes. Okay, no problem, Yi Chu readily agreed. Zhu King blushed, wanting to be closer to Yi Chu, but restrained by her current appearance. He had no choice but to suppress the slight anger on his face and said gently, Yi Chu, congratulations on winning first place in the preliminaries, I'll save that for when I win the finals. Yi Chu shrugged. A victory in the preliminaries wasn't really something to celebrate for him. HMPH, you really don't know what's good for you, Zhu King snorted lightly, her masculine appearance belying her feminine manner in front of Yi Chu. How am I ungrateful? I appreciate your kindness, Yi Chu smiled, then hesitated, tentatively saying, by the way, I actually came here to ask you something, wishing everyone a happy life. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 520, Bringing Xiao Wu back to Biao Village. Seeing Yi Chu's somewhat cautious expression, Zhu King rolled her eyes and urged, just ask what you need to know. Yichu hesitated for a moment before asking, "May I ask, what is your mother's surname?" This was a question Yichu had only recently remembered. He had been confused by the information about the two BB dongs and hadn't thought of it for a moment. He had asked Jin Ringsu's father before. It was indeed Jin's Unji, so if BB Dong wasn't her real mother, then who was her mother? Zhu King raised an eyebrow. If it were before, she would definitely have turned cold if Yichu had asked such a rude question. But she knew that Yichu didn't mean her any harm. She shook her head slightly. "I can't answer that question because I don't know who my birth mother is." A hint of disappointment flashed across Zhu King's face, but it quickly disappeared. "But I can guarantee that the crazy woman is definitely not. If that were the case, I couldn't possibly have no memory of her, and Grandpa wouldn't have kept it from me." "Alright," Yichu nodded helplessly. It seemed that Jin Ringsu's background had become quite unusual. "Want to come with me to the secret room for a while?" Zhu King looked at Yichu, her heart warming, and asked softly. "Sure, how about we take a nap together?" Yichu quickly put that question out of his mind. He certainly wouldn't get an answer anytime soon. "Sure, but it has to be a vegetarian nap, of course. Do you even believe that yourself? If you dare to lay a finger on me again, I'll kick you off the bed," Zhu King warned coldly. She was finding it increasingly difficult to control herself around Yichu, yet she couldn't help but move closer to him. In the end, Yichu naturally didn't make any sudden moves, but simply held Jin Ringsu and slept soundly. Jin Ringsu opened her eyes. Looking at a blue-haired boy buried in his ditch, his face flushed, a slight smile appeared on his face as he gently stroked Yichu's head. After the girls finalized a plan, it was naturally executed methodically. Under their arrangement, Yichu completely became a master of time management. Every morning, he would cultivate his purple demon eye as usual, followed by an hour or two of practical combat training. This would either involve fighting Liu Erlong or challenging the stronger soul beast groups in the starred out Great Forest. The finals were different from the preliminaries. They could solo the preliminaries, but in the finals, they would need the girls' cooperation. Otherwise, if any unexpected situations arose, Yichu would not only struggle to cope, but he also didn't want anyone to get injured. After the practical combat, there was free time. Then there was lunch and a midday rest. These were times when he wouldn't cultivate, which was when Yichu spent time with the girls. As for the afternoon and evening, he would meditate and cultivate alone to improve his cultivation. The length of his cultivation time was also controlled, ensuring it wasn't less than his original training volume. Today was the second day Yichu had spent with Xiao Wu. After their practical training, Yichu took Xiao Wu to Biao village. A bamboo dragonfly spun and circled in the air before slowly landing back in Xiao Wu's hand. Xiao Wu smiled as she looked at the repaired bamboo dragonfly in her hand, then at Yichu beside her, her smile as bright as a flower. "Xiao Chu, let's go see Grandpa village chief." Xiao Wu took Yichu's arm and pulled him towards Old Man Zhang's house. Xiao Wu was very grateful to Old Man Zhang. If he hadn't brought her to Biao village, she wouldn't have met her Xiao Chu so quickly. Slow down," Yichu said, looking at the cheerful Xiao Wu, and couldn't help but chuckle. "Xiao Chu, look at that guy, isn't he the one who used to make fun of Xiao Wu for wearing your clothes?" Xiao Wu ran along, then stopped and pointed at a chubby boy who appeared in the fields. The chubby boy was startled when he saw Xiao Wu. Noticing the scorpion braid that had caused him so much trouble, he immediately realized what was happening and turned to run away. Alright, don't scare her," Yichu chuckled, ruffling Xiao Wu's hair. He still remembered how Xiao Wu had come to Biao village penniless and destitute. She had indeed wandered around in her own clothes, attracting ridicule. "Sister Xiao Wu didn't do anything, I don't hold grudges," Xiao Wu said reproachfully, then squinted her eyes, gently shaking her head to feel the warmth of Yichu's palm. Yichu had always ruffled her hair like this, and the feeling hadn't changed at all. "Alright, since we're going to Old Zhang's house, let's hurry, maybe we can still make it in time for lunch." Yichu pulled Xiao Wu along, heading towards Old Zhang's house. Xiao Wu, holding the bamboo dragonfly in her hand, was lost in happiness, greeting passers-by alongside Yichu. Soon, the two arrived at Old Zhang's house. Old Zhang was clearly unfazed by Yichu's arrival. He knew that Yichu occasionally stayed in that stone house with his girlfriend. He had even delivered groceries there several times. He completely ignored Yichu, turning straight to Xiao Wu and showering her with concern. "Xiao Wu, you little rascal, It's been so long since you've come back to visit Grandpa. Did Xiao Chu bully you? If so, tell Grandpa Zhang, and Grandpa Zhang will teach him a lesson. Old Zhang knew perfectly well about Yichu's frequent changes of women and had quite a few complaints. After all, Yichu didn't bring back his previous girls. It was inevitable that he'd assume Yichu had dumped them. Haha, Grandpa Zhang, you can't beat Xiao Chu now. Xiao Wu smiled and, following old Zhang's lead, sat down next to him. HMPH. Becoming a soul master doesn't mean he can turn the world upside down. Don't worry about that. At worst, I'll call all the old folks in the village to teach him a lesson. Old Zhang snorted coldly, giving Yichu a sidelong glance. Yichu's forehead was beaded with sweat. Grandpa Village Chief, you'd better not call those old folks over. If something happens to them, I'll be in big trouble. Haha, Grandpa Zhang, don't worry, Xiao Chu wouldn't dare bully me. Xiao Wu chuckled, seeing the slight panic and helplessness on Yichu's face. Little girl, you can't spoil a man, you have to tame him before he'll behave. Aunt Zhang, who was preparing the meal, suddenly interjected. Yichu was taken aback, looking strangely at the rather robust Aunt Zhang. Auntie, where did you learn all this from? From whom else? Of course, from the old maids at the village entrance. A fickle little devil like you should be tamed as soon as possible. Aunt Zhang held a kitchen knife, making a fierce face at Yichu. Go away. What are you doing here? How old are you? You're still not married. Who gives you the right to say such things? Old man Zhang glared and scolded. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 521. Little Wu's hair will be pulled for you. Aunt Zhang shrank back after being scolded by old man Zhang, then looked up again, her eyes full of resentment, and said, Dad, what are you doing? Aren't you disciplining the child? HMPH. Disciplining the child? In my eyes, you're still a child. You haven't tamed that little village chief from the next village yet, have you? Stop meddling here. Old man Zhang slammed his hand on the table without any politeness, clearly worried about his daughter. Dad, Aunt Zhang's face turned red, and she didn't know what to do with the kitchen knife in her hand. PFFT, ha ha ha, Xiao Wu couldn't help but burst into laughter. Aunt Zhang opened her mouth but didn't know what to say, so she stopped talking and just glared at old man Zhang angrily. She continued with her work. Old man Zhang, don't worry, I won't let Xiao Wu down. Maybe I'll even invite you and everyone to my wedding. Yichu also couldn't help but chuckle, but he didn't tease her too much. An elder is still an elder after all. I can save some money later, so Aunt Zhang can have a grand celebration when things get done. Old Zhang squinted, sipping the fine wine Yichu brought, feeling a pang of nostalgia. Hey, if you can let this old man drink your wedding wine with those girls, I can go to see old Yi in peace. Dad, what nonsense are you talking about? Xiao Chu has been helping you take care of yourself these past few years. Why are you still saying such unlucky things? Clang. Aunt Zhang, who was chopping vegetables, slammed the knife into the cutting board, waiting for old Zhang. Hearing the words old Yi, Yichu's face showed a hint of unease. He comforted her. Grandpa Zhang, what are you saying? With me here, you might even see my child. Yes, yes. Xiao Chu is right. Xiao Wu nodded sensibly, shyly grasping Yichu's large hand. She also longed to have their own little rabbit with Yichu. Old Zhang waved his hand sheepishly. Oh, Xiao Chu, don't take it to heart. Old people tend to overthink things after drinking. Xiao Chu, don't bring him any more alcohol. Quitting it might help him live longer, Aunt Zhang said to Yichu with a hint of resentment. No way. How can that be? Am I supposed to drink 100-degree water? I can't stand that, old Zhang immediately protested. Haha, don't worry, Grandpa Village Chief, if Xiao Chu doesn't bring you any, I can secretly bring Xiao Wu. After a bit of playful banter, the food Aunt Zhang had prepared was finally served. Thankfully, there wasn't any rabbit meat or anything like that, otherwise Xiao Wu would have been upset. After having lunch at old Zhang's house, Yichu took Xiao Wu to the stone house where they had first shared a bed. Xiao Chu, slow down, don't rush. Although a walk after dinner is good for your health, Xiao Wu can't handle it if you go too fast. Xiao Wu pouted, grinning at Yichu's profile, and gave him 2 hard bites. Yichu rolled his eyes helplessly. You know a walk after dinner is good for your health, then why do you want me to carry you? Xiao Wu just likes it. Anyway, you're all mine for this period of time. Xiao Wu lay on Yichu's back, and even the bumps didn't bother her at all. You have to do what Xiao Wu tells you to do. Okay, I know. Yichu nodded slightly, supporting her pert bottom and gently kneading it. He wasn't without his own gains. Xiao Chu has really become naughty. Xiao Wu blushed, her voice soft and sweet. Soon the two arrived near the stone house. Xiao Wu looked at it and saw that it was getting better and better, with a stove built outside. She couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. Xiao Chu, is someone living in here? Yichu hesitated for a moment, then gently shook his head and truthfully replied, no. Then why does it seem like someone has been living here recently? Xiao Wu asked, puzzled, grabbing Yichu's azure hair. Her long, beautiful legs, clad in white stockings, were wrapped around Yichu's waist. Because I brought Zuke here before, and we cleaned all this together. Yichu, carrying Xiao Wu on his back, had already arrived at the peach tree without blossoms. Oh, Xiao Chu, you actually kept this from us for so long. Xiao Wu pouted, pinching Yichu's tender cheek, feeling a little jealous. I didn't keep it from you for too long, did I? Yichu argued somewhat awkwardly. The things you made for Sister Xiao Wu should still be there, right? If they're broken, you have to make a new one for her. Xiao Wu jumped off Yichu's back and ran lightly towards the door. She already knew about Zuke's situation. As for what they had done together, Xiao Wu had already secretly guessed it all in her mind. There was hardly any sour smell left. Of course it's not broken. Zuke has taken good care of it. Yichu took out a key from his divine might space and opened the repair door. The wooden planks separating the living areas inside were made of high-quality, non-rotten agarwood. They were carved with dragons and phoenixes and inlaid with gemstones. Zuke had obtained them from Yuxuan's channels, and the two of them had erected them together. As soon as the door opened, a simple, faint fragrance filled the air, completely devoid of any signs of decay. Wow, Xiao Chu, did Princess Zuke make all of this? Xiao Wu looked at the now comfortable bed, the exquisitely decorated windowsill with potted plants, and the small wooden room that resembled a bathroom. There was also a large chandelier overhead, a bookshelf-like storage shelf on the wall, and a wardrobe with clothes hanging nearby. It was impossible to tell that this was the same dilapidated, leaky, and dimly lit room that used to be. Yes, Zuke and I made it together. Yichu smiled and turned on the chandelier overhead, instantly illuminating the entire room. Never mind, Xiao Chu. Today, Sister Xiao Wu is going to sleep with you on the bed. Princess Zuke prepared. Xiao Wu ran and jumped, kicking off her shoes to reveal her two jade-like feet. She jumped directly onto the soft bed. Although it was still a wooden board, the bed was now a waterbed made of fine whale skin. A thick cotton quilt was laid on top, which was very soft. Yichu looked at Xiao Wu's unrestrained appearance and couldn't help but raise his hand to his forehead. Xiao Wu, don't jump so hard, be careful not to bump your head. Saying that, Yichu picked up Xiao Wu's shoes and put them on the side of the bed. Before Yichu could even sit down on the edge of the bed, Xiao Wu had already transformed into a mischievous rabbit, crawled into the quilt, and covered Yichu with the quilt. Xiao Chu, come and take a nap with Sister Xiao Wu, and tonight Sister Xiao Wu can straighten your hair. Yichu's vision went black, and a sweet fragrance wafted into his nose and mouth. Inside the blankets, Xiao Wu had already cupped Yichu's face, shamelessly pressing against him, swallowing and savoring his taste. Yichu quickly regained his composure. No longer waiting passively, he pounced on her, his hands and fingers exploring and teasing her. Biting her rabbit tongue, it remained sweet and soft. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 522. The Sculpture Apprentice in the Corner. The covers twitched for a while. Only after Xiao Wu was handed over to Yichu did the commotion cease. Soon, Xiao Wu, who had almost been stripped naked by Yichu, peeked out from under the covers. Realizing Yichu was still up to something, she quickly got out of bed, ignoring her barely clothed state, and rushed into the bathroom. Xiao Chu, you're so mean. You attacked me from both sides. Xiao Wu covered her round buttocks, feeling the sweat and water on her body, blushing as she accused Yichu. You provoked me first. Then I couldn't see, I poked the wrong person. Yichu threw back the covers, lying brazenly on the bed. He had almost experienced something different. You still say that? I'm going to tell. Anyway, don't do that again, Xiao Wu. I can't accept it. Xiao Wu's embarrassed and indignant voice came, stamping her feet in shame. She wanted to complain, but had nowhere to go. If she told her friends, they would only laugh at her. Alright, Alright, I really didn't mean it. Hurry up and get ready to take a nap. We'll go to Notting City again later, then go back to cultivate. Come back after you go to sleep tonight. Yichu rolled over to the side of the bed, leaving enough space against the wall, and closed his eyes. Even though he hadn't slept in this stone house for a long time, Yichu didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Okay. Sister Xiao Wu will be here soon. Xiao Wu blushed and quickly cleaned her wet body, wiping away the sweat. Not long after, Xiao Wu came to the bedside, covering her bottom. Looking at Yichu with his eyes closed, her face flushed again. She gently poked Yichu's face, and seeing that he didn't react, she quietly got into bed and lay down next to Yichu, squeezing into the blankets and gently leaning on Yichu's shoulder. Yichu suddenly turned over, and Xiao Wu was startled, feeling the pinch on her buttocks, her face burning red. Xiao Chu, she murmured. Yichu, however, buried his face even deeper into Xiao Wu's arms, inhaling and savoring her fragrance and softness. Fortunately, Yichu only did so, without making any further moves. Xiao Wu also quieted down, holding Yichu's head and letting him tease her. Time gradually passed. Yichu and Xiao Wu had finished their afternoon nap. Now they were strolling through the streets of Notting City, looking at the familiar shops around them. The two held hands, close together. Anyone with eyes could see that they were a perfect couple, deeply in love. Xiao Wu couldn't help but recall the scene when Yichu disappeared, and she searched the streets for him, tightly holding her lover's hand. She smiled slightly at Yichu, hugging him with relief. She asked softly, Xiao Chu, are we going to that carving shop? Yes, to see Grandpa Jerry and the others. Yichu hadn't forgotten that the special soul tools Xiao Wu was still wearing was a gift from Grandma Tom. That old lady, she probably still hates me, doesn't she? Xiao Wu pouted. In the past, when she missed Yichu, she would often barge in and disturb their peace. This led to several arguments. But when she went to see Yichu, they were quite concerned about her. How, Grandma Tom didn't take that little thing to heart, she just told you not to jump around too much. Yichu chuckled, leading Xiao Wu into the shop, and even greeting Spike at the door. Xiao Wu, jumping is in my nature, Xiao Wu grimaced, feeling miserable if she wasn't allowed to run and jump. However, if Yichu was around, she wouldn't necessarily insist on jumping. She was Yichu's good little bunny. Grandpa Jerry, long time no see. Yichu's voice made old Jerry, who was carving rotten wood, pause. He looked up at the blue-haired boy, a smile appearing in his cloudy eyes. Oh, it's you, kid. No wonder your voice sounded so familiar. Jerry stood up with a smile and called into the inner room, old woman, come out quickly. Xiao Chu has come to visit us two old bones again. Yichu stood quietly in place. When he and Zuke ran their agritainment business, they often visited the elderly couple here. He wasn't a stranger to them. In the corner, in the spot where Yichu used to be an apprentice, sat a thin figure. She was wearing the Notting Academy uniform that Yichu and Xiao Wu were very familiar with. The thin figure was a little girl. When she heard Yichu's voice, she looked up at him. Noticing Yichu's handsome face and noble temperament, she couldn't help but be stunned. Yichu knew very well. She must be the same girl who came here to work and study with him back then. So he nodded and smiled at her. The thin girl immediately lowered her head in panic, her face and ears turning slightly red. Yichu had obviously forgotten his charm with young girls and young women. Xiao Wu gave Yichu a helpless glare. If she were to step into Dormitory 7, the work-study dormitory, she might even see a few familiar faces. After all, Dormitory 7 is a mixed dormitory for 6 grades, and Xiao Wu has only been gone for less than 2 years. Xiao Chu, why are you here again? Do Soul Masters have so much free time? Coming all this way to see us? At this moment, Grandma Tom from the inner room also came out and couldn't help but tease Yichu when she saw him. Then she noticed a beautiful figure beside Yichu. Oh. There's that wild girl from Notting Academy again, still as pretty as before. Hello, Grandpa and Grandma. Xiao Wu looked at the elderly Tom couple and greeted them in the same way as Yichu. Hearing Grandma Tom's words, the little girl from Notting Academy in the corner couldn't help but look at Yichu and Grandma Tom with curiosity. Were they also from Notting Academy? They must be children from noble families. Grandma Tom, my soul skill is special, so it's very convenient for me to come here. It doesn't take much time, Yichu had explained to Tom and the others more than once. Besides, when I was an apprentice here, the two elders took good care of me. It's only right that I come to see you in my spare time. Yes, Yes, Xiao Chu is right. Xiao Wu, arm in arm with Yichu, nodded repeatedly. Seeing this, Tom's gaze towards her became very kind. This wild girl was already locked up. Haha. You child, we were just afraid of delaying your business. But speaking of which, your skills were the best among all the apprentices. Back then, even I couldn't compare to you. Jerry pulled Yichu, and Tom pulled Xiao Wu, and they sat down at the table in the middle for guests. The little girl in the corner looked at Yichu and Xiao Wu in shock. That noble and handsome young man was actually a former work-study student at Notting Academy. How could this be? It didn't seem like it at all. Yichu chatted with Jerry and his wife for a while, agreed to come back for dinner that evening, and then left with Xiao Wu. They had to return to Blue Tyrant Academy for cultivation. They would have time to come back here in the evening for some time alone together. Have a nice day, everyone. Chapter 523 The Promised Mutual Supervision. Before leaving, Yichu glanced curiously at the little girl in the corner, a hint of surprise flashing in his eyes. Such high soul power. Yichu's so-called high soul power wasn't compared to his own current level, but rather to others her age. The little girl looked no more than 11 or 12, yet her soul power had already reached level 25. The girl clearly noticed Yichu staring at her. Meeting his crimson eyes, she was momentarily captivated, then suddenly snapped out of it, blushing, biting her teeth, and shrinking back. The object she was carving broke off. The uncontrolled carving knife had cut a long gash on her palm, drawing blood. The girl quickly covered her hand, pulling at her sleeve to stop the bleeding, her eyes filled with determination. Xiao Chu, what's wrong? Xiao Wu tilted her head, asking Yichu curiously, looking at the girl in the corner. I saw something interesting. Yichu smiled slightly. Xiao Wu frowned, not understanding what Yichu meant. Yichu led Xiao Wu forward, approaching the corner where he had spent a month or so. The girl immediately became alert, gripping her carving knife, her soul power surging. You don't need to be nervous, Yichu said softly. The affinity of his blue-silver emperor bloodline made him harmless and approachable. The little girl hesitated, then relaxed, a blush appearing on her dark face. How? Yichu chuckled, placing his hand on her slender shoulder, channeling his life-giving soul power into her. Warmth and fragrance wafted over. The little girl trembled, then quickly slapped Yichu's hand away, protecting her small frame. Mr. and Mrs. Tom exchanged bewildered glances. Although they didn't understand Yichu's actions, they knew his character. He wouldn't do anything to bully others. Yichu didn't mind. After all, he was just a stranger. It was normal for a young girl to be wary of him. Xiao Chu, we should go. If we're late, our time together will have to end early, Xiao Wu urged from the side. Since they needed to balance cultivation, the women naturally set strict conditions. If they didn't complete their cultivation tasks on time, their time together would have to end early, no questions asked. Okay, I understand, Yichu nodded slightly and said softly to the confused and wary little girl, good luck. As soon as he finished speaking, Yichu, along with Xiao Wu who was in a hurry, used his divine power. A transparent vortex appeared. The two figures became distorted and quickly disappeared from Tom and the other side. Disappeared, the girl's eyes widened immediately, and she looked around, but couldn't find Yichu and Xiao Wu anywhere. Alright, Xiao Tian, don't look anymore. This is Xiao Chu's soul skill. We're used to it. Jerry suddenly stepped forward, holding ointment in his hand, and took her little hand to apply it to her wound. Although he was old and senile, but with Yichu's occasional care, his eyes were sharp. Soul skill? But why don't I see any soul rings? Henki Utian's eyes showed surprise and doubt. That's right, Henki Utian was the girl's name, a name that easily evoked deep hatred. He. Little Chu is really kind-hearted, she actually healed your wound, Tian. Grandpa Jerry let out a soft exclamation. Henki Utian immediately looked down and saw that only the bloodstains left on her palm remained. The wound had completely healed. A healing-type soul master, Henki Utian was puzzled. The brief respite had already given her a profound understanding of Yichu's mystery. She placed her injured hand on the shoulder that Yichu had just pressed, and a blush immediately appeared on her face. The feeling just now was very warm. We don't know anything about healing-type soul masters, but little Chu is indeed a miracle worker. With him around, the two of us old folks are both in good health now. Grandpa Jerry waved his hand and put the ointment away again. Henshin pondered for a moment, then suddenly asked, Grandpa, Grandma, Can you tell me about that handsome senior from earlier? Handsome? Actually, he used to be an ugly duckling. Grandma Tom, reclining in her rocking chair, fanned herself with a small fan, slowly recalling the past. Grandpa Jerry couldn't help but correct her. Old woman, don't talk nonsense. When Xiao Chu was little, he was quite pretty too. Grandma Tom frowned. Grandpa Jerry immediately changed his tune. Haha, Henshin, your Grandma Tom isn't wrong. Compared to now, Xiao Chu was indeed an ugly duckling back then. PFFT, haha, Henshin couldn't help but chuckle. Meeting Grandma Tom and her husband was definitely her good fortune. Speaking of Xiao Chu, he was obedient and sensible, but his cultivation talent didn't seem to be very good. After joking, Grandma Tom began to introduce Chu to Henshin. Speaking of which, how old was he when he went to hunt for his first spirit ring? Was he 9, old man? Yes, he was a little over 8, almost 9, anyway, he'd been in Notting City for over 2 years, Grandpa Jerry confirmed. He only hunted for his first spirit ring after awakening his martial soul for over 2 years? But, Henki Utian murmured to herself, she always felt that the handsome young man's talent was definitely more than that. It was her intuition. Grandma Tom continued, by the way, back then, that wild girl next to him was searching the whole city for Xiao Chu. The two children were practically childhood sweethearts. Yes, that night, Xiao Chu came to our door with blood. It scared me. Luckily, he's a lucky man, and he's grown up now. Grandpa Jerry and his wife talked about Chu one after another. Henki Utian listened quietly. When she learned that Chu's appearance had changed drastically and that he had more than one woman, she suddenly felt a little strange. Little Don, you shouldn't need to go back to the academy tonight, right? Just have dinner at home. It's rare to have such good food when Xiao Chu comes. Yi Chu had just returned to his residence at Lanba Academy with Xiao Wu when he heard the sounds of windows and doors opening all around. Little Wu, husband, you almost missed your chance to be late, Liu Erlong reminded them. Sister Erlong, is it really necessary to be like this? Can't you stand to see little Wu doing well? Xiao Wu pouted, feeling a little scared, and glared resentfully at Chu. Little Wu, we agreed to keep an eye on each other, how can it be that you can't stand to see her doing well? Ning Rongrong argued sweetly. Alright, everyone, let's go cultivate. Little Wu isn't late anyway, let's go in and cultivate. Chu waved his hand helplessly, pulling Xiao Wu towards the room. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 524 Not taking the mother's surname or the father's surname. Seeing Chu lead Xiao Wu into the room, Ning Rongrong, Du Yan, and the other girls exchanged glances, their jealousy and anticipation obvious. They quickly closed the windows and doors and went to cultivate. Only Xiao Lan remained, propping her chin up against the window, staring intently at Xiao Wu's room. Ah, so boring. When will it be Xiao Lan and her brother's turn for some alone time? Inside the room, Xiao Wu had lost her composure. She simply asked Chu with some curiosity, Xiao Chu, is there anything special about that girl? I guess she should have innate full soul power. Chu picked up Xiao Wu from his lap, placed her on the bed, and personally crossed her legs. Innate full soul power. Xiao Wu looked at Chu in surprise. Yes, she's already a level 25 Great Soul Master. Even if she doesn't have innate full soul power, she's not far off. Chu nodded with a smile. He just felt there was a bit of fate involved. She was also his successor, a fellow work-study student at Notting Academy, doing the same sculpting work. So she's a little genius. Dormitory 7 is truly a treasure trove. Xiao Wu tilted her head. She hadn't forgotten the sweet times she and Xiao Chu spent in Dormitory 7, when it was just the two of them. She didn't have any other sisters yet. If it weren't for that bastard Tang San having also stayed in Dormitory 7, she would have wanted Chu to take her to Dormitory 7 and Notting Academy. That troublemaker Tang San is still alive. Humph, it's so unfair. Alright, hurry up and cultivate, we'll go to Notting City for dinner later. Chu sat cross-legged, patted Xiao Wu's head, and leaned in for a light kiss. Xiao Wu nodded. The two sat on the bed, gradually entering a state of cultivation, their soul power flowing and growing stronger. Time passed quickly. Soon it was evening, and Chu and Xiao Wu went to the sculpting shop in Notting City for their appointment. At the Tom and Jerry sculpting shop. Tom and Jerry had already prepared the food, closed the shop doors, and sat at the table waiting. The girl named Han Dian sat next to Tom's grandmother, somewhat puzzled. "Grandma, haven't they arrived yet? Why did you close the door?" "Haha, Tian, Xiao Chu never comes through the front door at night," Jerry's grandfather replied. "HMPH. If it weren't for his filial piety and rudeness, I would definitely have knocked him on the head," Tom's grandmother snorted, glaring at her beaming husband, Jerry. "Ahem," Jerry's grandfather immediately coughed twice, suppressing his laughter. Han Jian, seeing this, was already used to it. She had gradually integrated into this new family. She also remembered Yi Chu's disappearing act. As she pondered this, the space in front of the dining table suddenly distorted. Although they couldn't see the transparent vortex, the pink and blue colors within it were clearly visible. Yi Chu and Xiao Wu appeared together, seemingly out of thin air, before them. Han Chu keenly noticed the red light in Yi Chu's eyes. His expression was somewhat dazed. He instantly snapped back to reality. Was that the Sharingan that Grandpa Jerry had mentioned? How amazing. But where did he get a healing-type soul skill? Grandpa Jerry, Grandma Tom, good evening, Yi Chu and Xiao Wu greeted the two elders together. Yi Chu looked curiously at the girl at the table. "Xiao Chu, come quickly, the food is getting cold." Yi Chu nodded slightly. He quickly led Xiao Wu to sit down beside him, and was about to ask a question when the little girl proactively extended her hand. She said somewhat reservedly, "Why hello, my name is Han Chu, my soul is Blue Silver Flying Hammer, and I'm a level 25 power attack type battle soul master." Her words were clearly probing, her black eyes couldn't hide anything. Yi Chu didn't seem to care much. He extended his hand to shake hers, smiled slightly, and introduced himself. "Yi Chu, Martial Soul Sharingan, level 47 power attack type battle soul master." This, Han Chu's eyes widened in shock. His face was filled with disbelief. How could a soul master be possible? What shocked her even more was that he had only broken through to soul master at the age of 9, yet in less than 5 years, he had actually advanced more than 30 levels. This was simply too terrifying, too illogical. Isn't Xiao Chu amazing? Why don't you ask Sister Xiao Wu? Xiao Wu smiled, naturally very happy that someone could acknowledge her. Maybe Sister Xiao Wu's legend is still circulating in Notting Academy. There should still be people in Dormitory 7 who know me. Hearing Xiao Wu's words, Han Chu finally came to his senses, blushing as he withdrew his hand that was hanging in midair. Yi Chu had already withdrawn his hand. He reached out to Xiao Wu again, and although he didn't know what legend she had left behind, he still greeted her politely. "Hello, Xiao Wu." "Hello, Han Qiushan." What a strange name. Xiao Wu shook hands with her and then introduced herself with a hint of pride. "My name is Xiao Wu, my martial soul is the soft-bone charming rabbit, and I'm a level 48 power attack type battle soul master." What? Han Qiushan's eyes widened. She couldn't believe that the two people in front of her were somewhat inhuman. Was this really a level of cultivation that a human could reach? Han Qiushan. Yi Chu then realized that this name was indeed a bit strange for a girl. Haha. Xiao Chu, you're also curious about Xiao Tian's name, aren't you? Grandpa Jerry chuckled and began to explain. We've already asked about this. Xiao Tian's name wasn't given to her by her mother, nor is it her mother's surname, nor is it anyone's father's surname. As for why she had such a name, Xiao Tian hasn't said anything. Alright, let's start eating quickly. We can talk while we eat, Grandma Tom urged. Yes, come on, you three little ones, don't be shy, try Grandma Tom's cooking. If you don't like it, tell Grandpa, and I'll have a word with her. Hearing the old man's nonsensical words, Grandma Tom couldn't help but roll her eyes at her husband. How? Yi Chu chuckled. Jerry and his wife's personalities really hadn't changed at all. After that, Han Haotian didn't speak again, and Yi Chu learned about her background from the Tom couple. On a dark and windy night, she was injured and collapsed in front of the carving shop, and was then adopted by an elderly couple who had no children. They even managed to get her a work-study spot from a nearby village and sent her to Notting Academy. Yi Chu looked curiously at Han Haotian, who was engrossed in eating. There must be some story behind that name. At the same time, Yi Chu was also very interested in her martial soul, the blue-silver flying hammer. Are you born with full soul power? Yi Chu asked Han Haotian. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 525 The combination of blue-silver grass and clear sky hammer? Han Haotian, who was slowly munching on his food, suddenly stopped, chewed twice, swallowed, and nodded slightly. Yes, I do indeed have innate full soul power. Yichu's eyes revealed a hint of certainty. Xiao Chu, you have such good taste, Xiao Wu praised with a smile, reaching out to put some food on Yichu's plate, then biting her chopsticks and smiling at her. Actually, Sister Xiao Wu is also a genius with innate full soul power. Xiao Wu had a good impression of Henki Udian, who was obedient and called her sister Xiao Wu right away. Yes, Henki Udian's eyes lit up slightly, but quickly relaxed. To be able to cultivate to level 48 Soul Master at the age of 10, innate full soul power was a certainty. He then looked at Yichu curiously. Is this senior also innate full soul power? Yichu was stunned for a moment, then chuckled. He didn't know how to ask. After all, cultivating to this level at the first level of innate was already astonishing. Henki Udian looked at the handsome Yichu strangely, not daring to look directly at him, but in his heart, he dismissed the idea. According to his grandparents, this senior Yichu only went to hunt for his first soul ring when he was over 8 years old. This meant that he could be ruled out as having innate full soul power. At the same time, innate level 9, 8, and even 7 were all ruled out. Because if he had such high innate soul power, he wouldn't have needed to cultivate for more than 2 years to reach level 10. Sister Xiao Wu, how much innate soul power does he actually have? Henki Udian became very curious about Yichu. He wasn't someone with innate full soul power, yet his cultivation speed was surprisingly fast. The Tom couple sat together calmly, not saying a word, enjoying their own world. Xiao Wu, who was engrossed in eating, raised her head, glanced at Henki Udian, and then at Yichu. Just as she was about to ask Yichu what he meant, he himself had already given Henki Udian the answer. My talent wasn't very good at the beginning, and my innate soul power was only level 1, what? How is that possible? Henki Udian looked at Yichu in shock. She had never imagined that Yichu, with such a high cultivation level, would actually only be a level 1 innate soul power. It sounds impossible, but it's true, Yichu said honestly, holding his bowl. That's right, I slept with him right after Xiao Chu awakened his martial soul. Back then, he couldn't even beat Sister Xiao Wu, he was only level 1. Unlike now, not only is he stronger, but he also bullies Sister Xiao Wu, especially at night. Xiao Wu smiled, leaning on Yichu's shoulder as she reminisced. She was completely oblivious to the strange expressions on Henki Ushin and Jerry's faces. You wild girl, can't you tell what you should and shouldn't say? Grandma Tom glared at Xiao Wu, annoyed. Xiao Chu, you need to keep an eye on her. I didn't mean to. Xiao Wu realized she had let something slip and immediately nestled shyly into Yichu's arms. Henki Ushin watched this scene, slightly stunned. Then she resumed eating, her eyes glued to Yichu. She desperately wanted to understand how Yichu had managed it. With innate soul power at level 1, she had cultivated to the current level 47 Soul Master. If she could figure this out, perhaps she could grow quickly and avenge her deceased mother and brother. Avenge that heartless place, that group of cowards who only knew how to cower. Yichu held Xiao Wu's delicate body and comforted her. The hatred and grief flashing in Henki Udian's eyes naturally did not escape his notice. After a moment of contemplation, he asked, Xiao Dian, I should be able to call you that, right? I wonder if I could see your martial soul. No problem, Henki Udian paused. After considering for a moment, she nodded slightly. Anyway, the people chasing her were all cowards who wouldn't come out of the mountains. She didn't need to worry too much. Besides, they didn't even know she had awakened her martial soul. After speaking, Henki Udian placed her somewhat small palm on the table and spread it out. Then, her soul power surged. A black light immediately shone on her hand. Xiao Wu looked on curiously, while a strange look flashed in Yichu's eyes. Such a color. He seemed to have seen it many times before. A faint black light surged from Henki Udian's palm, the radiance instantly condensing into a strange object in her hand. It was a completely black hammerhead. As for why it was called a lump, it was because it was merely a cylinder. There was no handle. The single hammerhead was cylindrical, looking much like a miniature forging hammer, but on its black surface, there was a peculiar light, and a faint pattern coiled around the cylindrical hammerhead. When this hammerhead appeared in Henki Udian's hand, the air in the entire room seemed somewhat oppressive. Henki Udian frowned, as if she hadn't fully gotten used to the weight of the hammerhead. Her slender arm trembled slightly. Her martial spirit didn't seem to have been fully released, but Yichu had already recognized what it was. But, soon, under Yichu's gaze, a wisp of pale blue rope actually grew from where the handle of the cylindrical hammerhead should have been. Calling it a rope wasn't quite accurate. Because of its appearance, Yichu, who possessed the bloodline of the Blue-Silver Emperor, was deeply impressed. It looked like ordinary blue-silver grass, only it was connected to the black hammerhead, giving it a layer of black, shimmering light. Looking at the two yellow spirit rings on the meteor hammer-like spirit, Yichu couldn't help but shake his head and chuckle. Blue-silver flying hammer. So this was the blue-silver flying hammer, a combination of blue-silver grass and the clear sky hammer. Yichu could recognize the blue-silver flying hammer's unusual nature, and Xiao Wu naturally recognized it too. Xiao, why does Xiao Tian's spirit look a bit like the clear sky hammer? Is that blue-silver grass? Hearing Xiao Wu's voice, Han Qiushan's face showed shock, tightly gripping the rope of the blue-silver flying hammer. His face was full of vigilance. Xiao Tian, what's wrong? Grandpa Jerry gently patted her shoulder. She then came to her senses. Her grandparents were still here. She was absolutely sincere towards Tom and Jerry. It's nothing, Grandpa. Han Qiu shook his head slightly, putting away his martial spirit, his face turning slightly pale. Indeed, Yichu patted Xiao Wu's head, looking at Han Qiu with surprise and doubt. He had just seen it. Han Qiu seemed quite disgusted when he saw the hammer, but very gentle with the blue-silver grass-like rope. Xiao Tian, don't be nervous. We won't harm you, otherwise you would be no match for us, Xiao Chu. How can you talk like that, child? Grandma Tom immediately objected. She always sided with her own family, regardless of right or wrong. Especially since Hanky was just a little girl. Wishing everyone a happy life. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.